Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Will the Secretary please call roll?
Commissioner Leo,
Here.
Commissioner Escamilla, Commissioner Ramos, Commissioner Oliva. Here. Commissioner Wu.
Here.
Vice Chair McLaughlin,
Here.
Chair Pham.
Here.
Chair, quorum has been reached at 5:37.
Thank you. Before we begin, I would like to remind my fellow commissioners to turn your microphone on when speaking and off when not speaking. And when speaking, please place the microphone about 4 inches away from you. Thank you. For members of the public who may be attending the Planning Commission meeting in person or virtually via Zoom, I now invite the Commission Secretary to describe the way the public can access and participate in the meeting.
This meeting is being live streamed via our portal at www.santa-ana.primegov.com/public/portal and to YouTube at www.youtube.com/City of Santa Ana videos. If you would like to provide a public comment, you may do so in the following ways. Join the meeting via Zoom, enter meeting ID number 817-488-58245. When the item that you would like to comment on is being discussed, select the hand icon to let us know you would like to speak, and you would be called upon by the name you entered. You can also join the meeting by calling 669-900-6833. Enter meeting ID number 817-4885-8245. When the item that you would like to comment on is being discussed, press 9 to let us know you would like to speak. You will be called upon the last 3 digits of your phone number. After you're called upon, you may press number 6 to unmute yourself. For those who are attending this meeting in person and would like to provide public comment, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. All speakers will have 3 minutes to speak. I will alert you when your time is up.
Moving on to public comments on non-agenda or non-public hearing items. Secretary, does anyone wish to speak on any non-public hearing items?
If you're attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on non-agenda or non-public hearing items, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you're participating via Zoom and would like to comment on non-agenda or non-public hearing items, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment on non-agenda or non-public hearing items, please dial number 9 and then 6 to unmute yourself. We do not have any speakers.
Thank you. Moving on to the consent calendar. Is there a motion to approve item A, minutes from April 10th?
I move.
Thank you, Commissioner. And also, we did not have any excused absence last meeting, is that correct?
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay, there's a motion from Commissioner Wu and a second from Vice Chair. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Commissioner Leo,
Aye.
Commissioner Escamilla, Commissioner Ramos, Commissioner Oliva. Aye. Commissioner Wu,
Aye.
Vice Chair McLaughlin,
Aye.
Chair Pham.
Aye.
Motion approved by majority vote with Commissioners Escamilla and Commissioner Ramos absent.
That concludes the consent calendar. Moving on to the business calendar session. I will now review the process for public hearing so that everyone knows what to expect. Staff will provide a presentation and answer questions from the commission. The public hearing will then be open. The applicant will be given the opportunity to speak, limited to 15 minutes. Members of the public will then be given the opportunity to comment, limited to 3 minutes. The applicant will then be given the opportunity to respond to comments made by the public, limited to 5 minutes. The public hearing will then be closed. Discussion will return to the commission with formal action taken to approve, deny, or continued review of the application. Please consider the following suggestions when organizing your comments. Please state your name and address, which is voluntary. State whether you support, oppose, or are neutral to the proposal. Your statement should include all pertinent facts within your knowledge. Please note, decision on this matter is final unless appealed within 10 days by any interested individual or party. Recommendations on this item will be forwarded to the City Council at a later date for final determination. At this time and place for the public hearing on item number 1, conditional use permit number 2023-07 and conditional use permit number 2023-08 for the property located at 310 East 4th Street within the Transit Zoning Code District. Before we begin, do any of the commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regard to this item? So we have Commissioner Escamilla joining us. Seeing that there's no commissioner, no disclosure, we'll move on. Heidi Jacinto will now provide a brief presentation.
Chair, before the presentation begins, very quickly, the agenda might have stated that conditional use permit number 2023-7 was for after hours operation and 2023-8 was for beer and wine sales, whereas the resolutions have them the opposite. So for the record, the resolutions are the correct version.
Thank you, Ali. Heidi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So item number 1 before you this evening is for Tacos Sin Frontera, for CUP for on-premise alcohol sales and after hours. The project site is 310 East 4th Street within Ward 6. The applicant is requesting approval of 2023 -7 and 2023-08 for the sale of alcoholic beverages for on-premise consumption for beer and wine under a Type 41 license from the Department of Alcohol and Beverage Control, as well as to allow for after-hours operation at the restaurant located at 310 East 4th Street. The staff is recommending approval and adoption of a resolution approving both CUP 2023-07 and 2023-08. The location, the general plan designation here is District Center Medium High DC3, and the zoning designation is in the Transit Zoning Code SD 84 within the downtown area. Surrounding land uses include commercial and retail to the north, east, south, and west. The lot size is 0.7 acres, and the unit size is 920 square feet. The site was developed in 1976 and was previously occupied by Coffee Muse. As of February 22nd, 2023, the applicant submitted tenant improvements to convert the site into the restaurant Tacos Sin Fronteras. He's working with staff through the permitting process. The business owner, he currently owns a shabu shabu restaurant known as Kaizen, located at 303 North Spurgeon Street, which also offers alcoholic beverages and operates after hours. The applicant is proposing to operate the establishment Sundays through Thursdays from 7 a.m. to 12 a.m. And Fridays and Saturdays from 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. However, alcoholic sales will be limited to from Sundays through Thursdays from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Fridays and Saturdays from 7 a.m. to 12:30 a.m. This is a photo of the site. And this is the site plan. And this is the floor plan. The red highlights the alcohol storage area, which is about 12 square feet, 1.3% of the overall floor area, consistent with our zoning code. So the subject site is consistent with the goals and objectives of the land use element of the general plan and is located in a commercial zone, not in close proximity with any parks, playgrounds, or schools. Approval of this CUP would allow Tacos Sin Frontera to remain economically viable and compete with other full-service establishments offering a similar service in the area. Additionally, the businesses may operate up until 12 a.m. whereas the applicant is requesting to operate to 1:30 a.m., which is the after hours portion. And so, however, alcohol sales will cease at 12:30 a.m. The proposed hours of operation is consistent with other downtown businesses in Santa Ana. Additionally, this would offer additional hours capturing local spending and additional employment opportunity. As indicated by the police department, they are satisfied with the operational standards and conditions of approval, which could mitigate any potential impacts to the surrounding community and does not oppose granting of the CUP. Conditions of approval and a property maintenance agreement and standards in the Santa Ana Municipal Code will address any potential negative impacts. Additionally, a CEQA determination or exemption, a Class 1 exemption will be filed for this project as an existing facility. Additionally, there are no fiscal impacts associated with this action. Staff is recommending adoption of a resolution approving CUP 2023-07 as conditioned and resolution 2023-08 as conditioned. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions, and Lamson Wen, the business owner, is available in the audience.
Thank you, Heidi. The public hearing is now open. Does the commissioner have any comments or questions of the applicant? Seeing none, would the applicant like to speak on the matter? Please approach the microphone.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lamson. Current owner at Kaizen Shabu. Been here for almost 7 years now. Our story is that my chef has been with us for 5 years now. It's always been his dream to own his own restaurant. So when this opportunity came at the end of last year, we decided to pick it up in January. It's a small space, about 850 square feet. It's just going to be a quick takeout concept. We have one small fridge that has bottled beers, and we want the opportunity to stay after hours because I think definitely towards the nightlife, that's when the traffic is highest. And I think it's great to capture on that opportunity. And yeah, that's why I'm here.
Do any of the commissioners have any question of the applicant?
Yeah, and well, thank you for being here. So I guess for me, the overall question is like, why cut it off at 1:30? Is there, and this might be more for staff, is there a difference from us allowing it to go until 2 o'clock, which would be normal late hours?
I did notice on the PowerPoint there was a typo. The location was incorrect on the first slide, but when I did initially do the application, I requested to have alcohol sales all the way to 1:30, and depending on the traffic, we would close at 1:30. So definitely wanted to extend to 1:30 for last call.
Yes, so the applicant asked to operate up until 1:30. However, we have conditioned to allow alcohol sales up until 12:30. Therefore, last call would be 1 hour before closing to kind of ensure that the business can close down appropriately and all of that.
But I guess from a regulatory perspective, there would be no difference for us as far as what we're approving if we would adjust the time to later on in the evening. Again, for me, just the overall vision is, if we have an active nightlife, you extend the hours and give the property owner and business owner the most amount of flexibility as possible for them to kind of decide whether or not to stay open. I guess I just see a little less of a difference between a 1:30 to 12:30 cutoff. Because I think the enforcement aspect of it, quite honestly, are we going to, have someone, get a drink issued at 12:31 and then, really having the applicant then be in violation versus just acknowledging the fact that we likely will continue to, obviously, I don't believe that the applicant will purposefully violate their conditions, but it might be a situation in which, having that cutoff point at that hour, is there harm potentially in giving them another 30 minutes if it's already after hours?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Thank you. I saw that there's outdoor patio, will alcohol be served in that outdoor portion of the restaurant?
I do believe alcohol would be served in the outdoor patio.
Based on our application for the ABC, we do have about 8 tables outside that has the option to serve alcohol.
Do you have a procedure in place to contain the alcohol within the premise of the patio, given that it's exposed to the public?
Yeah, along the perimeter, it's a chain fence.
That's great. Seeing that there's no other comments from Commissioner Wu.
Mr. Owner, what is your interpretation of when you are required to make last call?
My interpretation for last call,
Yeah,
last call would be at 1:30.
when dirty.
Yes,
And that's also the permit you have until 1:30, right?
correct. So
Normally, last call is half an hour before their permit ends. So all bars shut down at 1:30. All drinks are taken off the table. I'm addressing staff. The discussion just kind of confused me because I couldn't hear very well what the response.
Under ABC, the cutoff for alcohol consumptions is 2 a.m. Generally, businesses are conditioned to have either at least half an hour, if
Can you
not
please turn on your
longer.
microphone?
Can you hear me? So generally, businesses are conditioned to have either half an hour or longer to be the last call so that it avoids the last minute ordering of alcohol. The
That's
condi-
consistent with what I was thinking, is the 2 o'clock is when all drinks are off the table, 1:30, he announces last call.
So the recommendation here based on the conditional use permit is to limit alcohol sales to 12:30. And that's the staff condition, and I believe Commissioner Escamilla was talking about extending that.
So they're having special condition to have to stop serving drink at 12:30, whereas other bars still can continue until 1:30.
So the condition for the after hours, I believe, staff, correct me if I'm wrong, is that for 1:30 PM, AM, meaning that business has to close by 1:30 based on their conditional use permit. The rationale for the 12:30 is that prior to that, the alcohol service should terminate so that it would allow the business to close at 1:30.
Okay, that's still confusing me because I think what staff was saying before is to be consistent with the other bars in the area.
According to the staff report, the hours are consistent with other businesses in the area.
With the bar upstairs and the playground
This-
people.
This establishment is an eating establishment. It's not a bar traditionally.
Okay.
But is there entertainment?
They are not applying for entertainment, no.
Okay, so there's no application right now for entertainment.
That's correct.
Okay.
So on the ramen side, when they get drunk on the taco side, you got your healing ramen to kind of help sober up still? Are you open?
Our shabu shabu, we close at 11 p.m.
Oh, you close 11,
Yeah.
okay,
We do have a
Oh,
type
okay.
47 there.
okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Wu. Seeing that there's no other comments, Madam Secretary, have we received any written communication? Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item?
We have not received public comment prior to the 4 p.m. deadline. If you're attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial number 9 and then 6 to unmute yourself. We do not have any comments, Chair.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve this matter?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Oliva. No, Oliva. Is there a second?
I was actually hoping to maybe discuss an item, maybe a friendly amendment to your motion. I actually am fairly comfortable with allowing food operations till 2 on Friday and Saturday. Doesn't mean that you will be open until that point, but I just think that having additional food options late at night when everyone else is already kind of getting out of the bar, it's not a bad thing to have extra hours of operation again for you, if that's okay with the applicant.
Yeah, we would love to stay open to if needed.
Okay, so if at all possible, I'd like to amend it to be able to sell food up until 2 o'clock, not changing the hours of the alcohol sale, because I think that that would warrant a larger discussion. But at least for food sales, if that's a friendly amendment to your motion, I would like to second that if possible.
Want to confirm the applicant, you're okay with that amendment?
Well, yeah, yes, thank you.
And that's for Friday and Saturday specifically.
Correct.
Okay.
So thank you, Commissioner. So just to be clear, so till 2 a.m. on Saturday morning and then till 2 a.m. on Sunday morning
Yes.
for the business to be open and operational. And then if there's a desire to reflect the alcohol sales as a modification, then that should also be stated for the record
And
for absolute clarity on these conditions of approval.
correct. And I'm not asking for a modification on the alcohol sales, just on the modification for them to sell food.
Thank you.
So if I get a hankering for a taco around midnight, they're open. I could get a beer until 1:30. Okay, 12:30. Okay.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Oliva, a second by Commissioner Escamilla with a amendment. Can you verbalize the amendment one more time?
Sure. So just to modify the hours of operation allowable for food sales on, let's see, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, until 2 a.m. Only making that modification for food sales, with no modifications to when alcohol can be served.
Thank you. Commissioner, Vice Chair.
Got a question. I mean, if you're allowing people to eat food until 2 a.m. I mean, in most restaurants, when people sit there and say, we're closing the kitchen at 9, that the definition that you're doing, are you closing the kitchen at 2? Because that says people can come in at 1:59 and order dinner. And they're going to be in that restaurant for a longer time. So how do we?
Let's ask the applicant. How would it function operationally
So
if we approve the amendment?
So based on my experience at Kaizen Shabu, we close at 10 o'clock, but typically we do last call at 9:45. But if a larger group does come in, we will take them because, you know, we definitely don't like denying people or turning people away. But we figured that based on our closing duties, by the time that they wrap up eating, we're going to still be working and closing. And it's just a matter of a couple more minutes, just cleaning up after one extra table. So if we do close at 2, especially being a quick serve to the takeout restaurant, we would still serve someone at 1:59.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Seeing that there's no other comments on the matter, Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Did we confuse things for enforcement? City Attorney?
Commissioner Wu, enforcement in terms of the time at which food and beverage service will stop?
Yeah, I just want to be clear for everyone, for the operator, his workers and for customers.
For the purpose of clarity, if staff can capture the comments, and repeat it for everyone here.
Yeah, perhaps the clerk can restate the motion. I believe as it was amended and the amendment accepted.
Correct.
Thanks. So the motion by Commissioner Oliva was to approve, and then there was a friendly amendment second by Commissioner Escamilla to modify the hours of operation for the conditional use permit pertaining to after hours operation to allow the business to operate until 2 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday mornings, not affecting alcohol sale hours.
Are we okay to vote? Yes. Great. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Commissioner Leo,
Aye.
Commissioner Escamilla,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramos, Commissioner Oliva,
Aye.
Commissioner Wu,
Aye.
Vice Chair McLaughlin,
Aye.
Chair Pham. Motion approved by a majority vote with Commissioner Ramos absent.
Thank you. Thank you. This is the time and place for public hearing for item number 2, conditional use permit number 2023-09 for the property located at 1208 East McFadden Avenue, located within the planned shopping center zoning district. Before we begin, do any of the commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regard to this item? Seeing none, Fernanda Arias will now provide a brief presentation.
Thank you. Up for discussion tonight, I have CUP number 2023-09. The project is located at 1208 East McFadden Avenue in Ward 6. This is Marisco Sector Sports Grill. They're requesting an approval of CUP number 2023-09 to allow the sale of distilled spirits in addition to the existing beer and wine sales for on-premise consumption through a Type 47 license. The property is located in general commercial, general plan designation, and it has a planned shopping center zoning designation. The surrounding land uses are single-family residences to the north, multifamily residences to the east, and commercial to the south and west. The lot size is approximately 0.95 acres, and the unit size is 3,354 square feet. This site was developed in 1971 as a commercial building. The same year, a CUP number 1971-32 was approved, allowing the sale of beer and wine for on-premise consumption. On February 24th, the applicant submitted the subject application to the planning division to allow the sale of distilled spirits. Marisco Sector currently operates at 2 additional locations in Santa Ana. There's one at 1801 South Main Street. They currently have a Type 47 that was approved through CUP number 2019-10. And there's another location at 409 North Broadway, also has a Type 47 license that was approved through CUP number 2016-08. This is a site photo. Through staff's review, we identified that the sign was not permitted. This was communicated to the applicant and they actually removed the sign. So this is a little outdated, but on Friday, I drove through the site and they did remove the sign. This is the current site plan. This is the floor plan that shows alcohol storage of 33 square feet or 98%, which is compliant with the Santa Ana code. The Marisco Sector is a restaurant that will be offering alcohol sales for on-site consumption. It's an ancillary use to the primary restaurant services. Approval of this UP will allow Marisco Sector to remain economically viable and compete with nearby businesses offering similar services. The subject site is consistent with the goals and objectives found in the land use element of the general plan, located in a commercial zone and is not located in close proximity to any playgrounds. The police department is satisfied that the operational standards applicable to on-premises ABC licenses will mitigate any potential impacts to the surrounding community and therefore doesn't oppose the granting of the CUP. In addition, staff reached out to different neighborhood leaders on March 14th and March 15th. Only 2 responded to the inquiries and had no complaints. Today, I found out one of them was out of the country, but I reached out to someone else. I didn't receive any feedback, but there were public notices sent out as well. Conditions of approval and property maintenance agreement and standards in the Santa Ana Municipal Code will address any potential negative impacts. In accordance to the CEQA guidelines, the project is categorically exempt from further review pursuant to section 15301 of the CEQA guidelines. The notice of exemption will be filed, and there are no fiscal impacts associated with this action. With that, staff is recommending approval of CUP number 2023-9 as condition. Open for any questions.
Thank you. The public hearing is now open. Does the commissioners have any comments for staff or the applicant?
I had some questions of
Commissioner Liu.
staff. So they have 3 locations in the city. How are the other 2 performing when it comes to their type 47 license? Are they good actor, bad actor? How is it going? Because practice. So I wanted to ask about that. Second of all, I want to know about the hours, because it looks to me like there's an apartment complex right behind it. They've obviously been serving beer and wine there, so you'll have a track record. Could you kind of explain those to the commission?
Pull up hours of operation. Okay, so it looks like they are proposing to be open from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m., but we have a condition in the resolution that ceases operation, well, not food service, but alcohol sales to 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday. In terms of the other locations, how they're performing, when we did the PD request, only the vicinity of that area.
And the reason I ask is, this is another location. So that they're looking for the type 47 license, but knowing their past history on type 47, the other 2 locations may give us an idea of how this may go. I know the police department signed off on it, but I just wanted to have a sense of, are we looking at a good actor, or are the police gonna get called or not? That's kind of the genesis of my question.
Thank you,
Go ahead.
Commissioner, for that question. As all with conditional use permit application, we do have to evaluate each application based on their own merit. Staff conducted an extensive research on the background of all projects that we review, and that's common, and it's the same for every project. So based on this review and our review with police and code enforcement, they did not have any prejudicial concerns, and therefore did recommend that there no additional conditions based on that, and would recommend approval.
Thank you.
Commissioner,
Ben, just for clarification, these 3 units or 3 locations, are they owned by the same people? Because we've had this same restaurant come in front of us several years back, and the owner of one was not tied to the owners of the others.
The owner of this current restaurant, I know it has another location on Main. I don't know if all 3 locations are owned by the same. If I recall at the last hearing, that she did not own the other location, but absolutely, she's here, can answer the questions
Okay.
definitively for the commission. And you can ask that question when it's applicant's
Yeah.
turns.
I'll wait until we get to the,
great. Before we ask the applicant to come to speak, do we have any other comments for staff from the commission? Would the applicant like to come up and speak?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Arthur, pardon me, my name is Arthur Newton. I'm the corporate counsel for Marisco's Hector Sports Grill, pardon me, Sports Grill, and for Maria Siebold, the applicant in this matter. Ms. Siebold has owned and operated this facility for over 20 years with no negative impacts to the city. We've reviewed the staff report and its recommendations. We are in agreement with them, with one exception in dealing with the hours of operation that I'd like to get into in a moment. In our original application, we requested hours of operation, including alcohol sales from 8 a.m. until 12 a.m. on a daily basis. The staff report, if I can invite your attention to page 2, specifically table 2, you'll see 2 columns. One says provided for and calls for the hours of operation from 8 a.m. until 12 a.m. It's also hours that are consistent with the municipal code, which is from 7 a.m. until 12 a.m. The request for the hours until 12 a.m. is consistent with other similar facilities in the area, including the other 2 that Ms. Siebold has majority ownership in. One on 1801 South Main Street, she owns 100% of. 409 North Broadway, she owns 51% of. The Main Street location has sales until 12 a.m. The Broadway location has sales until 2 a.m. Granted, there are last calls, typically within the industry is 30 minutes prior to closing. We would ask for the same thing in this location that Ms. Siebold owns 100% of. Because if you stop and think about it, someone comes in for dinner 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, which frequently happens. You sit down, you take 10, 15 minutes to look at the menu, place your order. The kitchen needs 25 to 30 minutes to get the order out to you. By the time you've sat down and started eating your meal, 25, 30 minutes later, under the proposed CUP condition, the staff has to come by and take away all the alcoholic beverages off the table, whether they've been fully consumed or not. With the 12 a.m. Closing even for alcohol, the last call would be at 11:30, so everything would be wrapped up and closed down by midnight. That being the case, I would respectfully request the commission amend the proposed resolution to allow for the 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. hours, including alcoholic sales on a daily basis. And other than that, I'm available to answer your questions.
Do any commissioners have? Commissioner Leo?
I'm going to ask because I know Commissioner Wu will clarify what you're asking for. You're asking for food service plus
Food
alcohol.
service and alcohol sales from 8 a.m. until 12 a.m. 7 days a
And
week.
last call 11:30.
11:30, correct.
You don't have takeout, right? People don't call in. Do you have call in and take out? Do you know? Because I'm just wondering, we just went through this with the previous applicant about when the kitchen's open, when the alcohol stops. Do people call in at 11:30, come by, pick up food at 11:45? I'm just trying to figure out.
There is no takeout
No takeout. Okay. And currently you serve alcohol till when now?
until 10 p.m.
Okay. And your application was for?
12 a.m.
Thank you. Any other comments? So for my clarification, because I'm a little confused on this as well. So the CUP is asked for alcohol service from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. Sunday to Thursday, but you're asking for it to be extended daily.
Daily
Is that
basis,
correct?
yes.
Has this been discussed with staff prior to this?
I briefly discussed it with Ms. Arias earlier today.
Right.
And she just had indicated that that was their standard. I just, with a 10 PM closing, if you allow for the 30-minute last call, now suddenly you can't consume anything after 9:30. So I think you're being overly restrictive.
And you were aware of the timeframe prior?
Yeah, well, I didn't get the time frame until you posted the agenda and the staff report about 5:30 Friday night.
Okay. I'll direct my question at staff. Is there a reason why we did not initially grant the full daily use of the permit?
Sorry, one of the reasons was the proximity to residential. For weekends, we allowed the midnight, but for weeknights, we restricted to 10 PM.
Was this communicated to the applicant?
It was not communicated prior to the agenda posting.
You know, given what staff has spoken about, you know,
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
sorry, given the explanation that staff just given about the timeframe restraint, you know, I would like to hear your response to it.
I don't think there'd be that much adverse reaction, if indeed any, with substituting a beer for a shot of tequila. Might even be beneficial.
The initial staff condition is to be sensitive towards the adjacent land uses in residential. If the operator is willing to operate this way for 6 months, we would be willing to reconsider the extension of the hours. And therefore, I could recommend that we initiate out this way and come back in 6 months to review for potential extension, simply because this is an intensification of the license type, which allows for a much more potent product on site. So therefore, that is, we stand by our conditions and recommendation.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I saw that on the staff report that there's a 6 month review. So that's why
I'm understanding that you want to go till midnight for the next 6 months and then come back for a review. Is that my correct understanding?
No, our recommendation is we stand by the condition as is, and in 6 months, if the operation is we're found to have no or negative impact, then we can come back to the commission and reconsider the items.
Thank you for the clarification.
I don't think my client would have an adverse reaction to that. I will add that in answer to Commissioner Leo's inquiry about have they been good operators, had there been any negative impact from the police department or the city, I can assure you I would have heard about it. And there have been none in any of the locations. And I just don't see an advantage of kicking the can down the road, which I think is what, no offense,
I'm taking.
what we're proposing.
Right.
Again, I'll answer any further questions.
Is there a street taco vendor that operates in that shopping center?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Question. Commissioner.
Yeah, and this is, I guess, to the applicant. So there is an existing entertainment license there, and for anyone that knows Marisco sector, much of the appeal is in the entertainment aspect of it all. So I worry less about the extension of the sale of food or alcohol if you're looking to do this midday, but then midweek. But then there is, I think, in my mind, a legitimate concern around the noise aspect of it. Like every time those doors open, you do hear it across the street. It is part of the tamborazo that you have going on, and it's great. But I guess that's where my worry comes in. If the operational hours were extended from 10 to 12 midweek, whether or not you would still have that major significant noise impact carrying to the mini street residents and to the neighbors behind.
There is infrequently live entertainment, a band or something along those lines. Trust me, I've driven by the locations on several, and I tell them if you got there, you got to leave those doors closed. Again, I think that there's been no police complaints of noise or anything in the past. I don't see that that's going to change.
Well, you're advertising as a sports bar, which means you got a big TV there, right?
We've got TV.
And you play it during soccer season, right?
Soccer, baseball.
And golf is kind of boring, right, for the crowd.
It's therapeutic, I guess.
Okay.
I never
Um,
could, I never liked the game.
What I was trying to determine was that it's not the kind of gathering that will spill out on the street.
No, it's nothing where the crowd's going to get rowdy. Indeed, we have security on the premises.
And you don't operate a karaoke, right?
No. No beer pong, no karaoke, nothing.
So the entertainment is what?
If not the televisions, occasionally there's a live band, a mariachi type band. And again, there's security there.
Vice Chair.
So a couple of things. You have an entertainment permit?
We do.
Okay. Second thing is I did notice with the picture of the facility, is there any outdoor eating, outdoor, go out and
There's
have
no
a
outdoor
cigarette?
patio. Everything would be consumed within the four walls.
And nobody goes out and sits out in the back smoking a cigarette or something like that? Just,
Not with alcohol in their hand, they don't.
well, okay, well, they could have a lot of alcohol in themselves, not have anything in their hands. But so, okay,
The loitering aspect has not been a problem in the past.
and the patrol keeps that in hand.
I was kind of going the same direction that Commissioner Escamilla was going, in that the other facilities seem to be operating okay. I think the extension of hours
Problem in the past.
during the working week for people, because this is a working city, and we could understand entertainment on the weekend, right? But Monday and Tuesday, Sunday, you're extending your hour to Monday, Tuesday, and Sunday, right? So and I think that the adjacent to the residential areas, what our executive director was kind of concerned about, but I don't know if there's a study on staff whether that's an issue or any other drinking establishment with restaurants in the area.
So at this juncture, we have provided the commission with our recommendation through your deliberation process. You can certainly consider a different hours or a different mechanism of addressing the stepping back or stepping up the hours.
So we either accept the recommendation to extend the hours, or we just reject it, right? But they could still have their license and operating as is.
Yes, your options are to approve the CUP as is, to approve it as amended as requested by the applicant, or another option is to condition it to the way that you would want to see the scaling of the hours.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve with a 6-month timeframe to have it come back to us. If everything's good, then they should operate with extended hours till midnight. That, to me, I think it's fair. I appreciate their investment in the city. They're gonna get at least the license to work on their busiest days. Because I don't want them to, there is an economic hardship to not be able to sell it later, but I understand, but let's try to find a sweet spot for both the business owner and the residents. And let's do a 6-month and then come back to us. If you've got no issues, let's extend it.
I would recommend
That's my
that,
motion.
if I can maybe help
Yep.
clarify, the motion would be is for an automatic extension if there isn't any issues that have been found by staff, and we would report back. That way it incentivize the operator for operating in a way that would be in compliance with our regulations.
Just to clarify, this is already in that 6-month review period. It has been already stated within the staff report.
This is to
correct?
change the conditions of the hours. We already have that condition as standard, but
Okay.
this is to allow the hours to automatically go to 12 midnight after the 6-month period of operations, if there hasn't been found to be any type of issues.
Commissioner Leo, can you turn on your mic when speaking?
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's my motion by
Thank you.
Director.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leo, a second by Vice Chair McLaughlin. With the amendment that there will be a 6-month review of the applicant with the automatic extension as proposed by the applicant after that 6-month review. Please call roll.
Commissioner Leo,
Aye.
Commissioner Escamilla,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramos, Commissioner Oliva,
Aye.
Commissioner Wu,
Aye.
Vice Chair McLaughlin,
Aye.
Chair Pham.
Aye.
Motion approved by majority vote with Commissioner Ramos absent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Oh, the third item.
can you hear me?
Okay.
So I have item number 3 at 6100 Bread. This is CUP number 2023-06. The site location is 728 North Poinsettia Street in Ward 6. 6100 Bread is requesting approval of CUP number 2023-06 to allow the sale of beer and wine for on-premises consumption through a type 41 license. As I mentioned, it's located at 728 North Poinsettia. The general plan is urban neighborhood. The zoning is transit zoning code or SC 84 with an industrial overlay for light industrial. The surrounding uses are single-family residential to the north, multifamily to the east and west, and industrial to the south. The lot size is 0.52 acres and the unit size is 2,339 square feet. The site was developed in 1948 with two 4,100 square foot Quonset hut industrial buildings. Then in 1956, an additional 7,500 square foot industrial building was constructed. The tenant improvement permits for 6100 Bread were issued on March 30th of this year, and the certificate of occupancy will be finalized when the construction is finished and all inspections are passed. On February 8th of 2023, the applicant submitted the subject application to the Planning Division. 6100 Bread is a home-based bakery based in San Juan Capistrano that specializes in artisan bread. The business owner prepares the dough and bakes the bread, and he provides services for pickup. This Santa Ana location would be the first location, physical bakery and cafe to be open for customer for retail and dine-in operations. This is a site photo. As you can tell, it's under construction still. This is the site plan. And this is the current floor plan. The alcohol storage is 20.5 square foot, which is less than 5% that is required by the Santa Ana Municipal Code. 6100 Bread is a cafe that will be offering alcohol sales for on-site consumption as an ancillary use to the primary dining and retail operations. Approval of the CUP will allow 6100 Bread to remain economically viable and compete with nearby businesses. The subject site is consistent with the goals and objectives found in the land use element of the general plan. It's located in a commercial zone and not located near any playgrounds. The police department is satisfied with the operational standards applicable to on-premise ABC licenses and will mitigate any potential impacts to the surrounding community. Conditions of approval, property maintenance agreement, and standards in the Santa Ana Municipal Code will address any potential negative impacts. In accordance with the CEQA guidelines, the project is categorically exempt from further review. And notice of exemption number 2023-18 will be filed. And there's no fiscal impacts. Staff's recommending to adopt a resolution approving CUP number 2023-06 as condition. And I'm open for any questions.
Thank you, Fernanda. The public hearing is now open. Does the commission have any questions for staff? Commissioner Will?
I have a concern, not regarding the conditional use permit, but our zoning as it relate to granting it. The area lacks parking. And I think, didn't we receive a letter in that regard? The concern that in the area generally, there's a competition between the lofts and the little businesses there. So it's not a takeout place. They intend to open up a restaurant and bar, right? And I could see it serving the neighborhood and people could walk there and all that. But for those of us that live in the more residential area, should we want to go down there, we would be competing with parking as well, right? With the residents in the area as they park. So what do we do to mitigate that? Is there a general plan as we get more over impacted in communities like Lacey? Where we gave approval to needed affordable housing and all that. And I don't want staff to take my remark as being negative. It just a light bulb went out and I went, oh, what do we do about this? And maybe it's not something that we discuss here, but you know, we may need to study this issue a little further. So
And you're correct, the parking issue is a bigger issue than this application itself. So it is something that the neighborhood, as we work through the development neighborhood to understand, the use itself with or without services of alcohol is a cafe, a bakery. So, you know, it is part of the development of the building and the use, permissible use of the building. So while I understand the concern, but it is something that's not necessarily attributed to this project and would need to be addressed separately.
So it seems since they're industrial area that their bakery may be baking artisanal goods for distribution and retail sale in the community to other businesses, right? And not just to local consumers, because it looks like their layout allows them to make a lot of rent.
So the use allowed is for the eating establishment. They're not proposing any distribution, such as wholesale. They're only proposing eating establishment with alcohol sales. So the retail aspect of it would be like any retail store where you walk in and buy bread. But it's the main use would be eating establishment.
Commissioner Leo?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution approving conditional use permit number
Commissioner.
2020.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'd just like to give the applicant the opportunity to speak if you would like to, or if you're present before we make the motion. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion adopting resolution approving conditional use permit number 2023-06 as conditioned.
Apologize. I think we skipped through the public hearing portion.
Well, I'm happy that people are invested in Santa Ana. That's the first thing.
Madam Secretary, have we received any written communication? Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item?
We have received public comment prior to the 4 p.m. deadline. This comment has been distributed via email to the commissioners. If you're attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial 9 and then 6 to unmute yourself. Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Thank you. Commissioner Leo, your motion.
Happy to. Adopt a resolution approving conditional use permit number 2023-06 as conditioned.
I would like to second Mr. Leo's motion.
Great. We have a motion by Commissioner Leo, a second by Commissioner Escamilla. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Commissioner Leo,
Aye.
Commissioner Escamilla,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramos, Commissioner Oliva,
Aye.
Commissioner Wu,
Aye.
Vice Chair McLaughlin,
Aye.
Chair Pham.
Aye.
Motion approved by majority vote with Commissioner Ramos absent.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Fernanda. This is the time and place for a public hearing for item number 4, site plan review number 2023-01, and the tentative track map number 2023-03 for the properties located at 1901, 1907 East 4th Street, and 515 and 525 North Cabrillo Park Drive, located in the professional zone and within the Village Center District of Metro East Mixed Use Overlay Zone. Before we begin, do any of the commissioners have anything they wish to disclose regarding this item?
Yeah, I would like to disclose that I did meet with the applicant, and I have an ex parte form for staff.
Thank you. Commissioner Leo?
I met with the applicant on Friday, and I will get you my form.
Commissioner Oliva?
I also met with that applicant and I submitted 2 ex parte forms online.
Commissioner Wu?
I only communicated enough to tell her that what the ethical codes said and that I will not be listening to a presentation by her until this meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Wu. Vice Chair?
I will be submitting an ex parte form for a meeting that I had on last Friday morning.
And then I've also met with the applicant last Friday and I submit the ex parte form. With that said, Jerry, would I provide a brief presentation on the matter?
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. Item number 4 is regarding the Cabrillo Townhome Center mixed-use development. The applicant Fairfield is requesting approval of site plan review number 2023-01 and tenant track map number 2023-03 to facilitate the construction of a mixed-use development as the chairman indicated at 1901, 1971 East 4th Street and 515 and 525 North Cabrillo Park Drive, collectively known as 1901 East 4th Street, which is located within Council Ward number 3. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission approve the request entitlement with conditions of approval. This is an aerial view of the general vicinity and the project site, which is located at the northeast corner of 4th Street and Cabrillo Park Drive. The project site has a general plan land use destination of District Center Medium High, which allows for a maximum of 90 dwelling units per acre. The property has a zoning destination of professional, but it's also located within the Metro East Mixed Use Overlay Zone that was approved by City Council in 2007 and amended in 2018, which allows the mixed-use development with approval of a site plan review application by this body. The project site is currently surrounded by Cabrillo Park to the north, medical and professional offices to the south and east, and a vacant site to the west, which is the future site of the Central Point mixed-use development that is currently under plan check and which was approved by this body in 2020. The project site measures approximately 8.9 acres and is currently developed with 4 office buildings that would be demolished as part of the application. I did want to clarify that as part of the staff report, there was a typo regarding the directions east and west, just to clarify the property to the west is the vacant site and the uses to the east are the office and professional offices. Moving on to project description, as mentioned, the project does include the demolition of the existing office buildings and the construction of a mixed-use development, which consists of 9 buildings on 2 proposed parcels for a total of 507 residential units, of which 449 will be rental apartment units, 19 will be live work units, 58 will be for sale townhome units. The project also includes 26,800 square feet of commercial space, 3.4 acres of on-site open space and amenities, and a total of 1,025 parking spaces will be provided for a ratio of 2.0 parking spaces per unit. This is an overall site plan of the proposed project, which consists of 2 integrated parcels that I will be elaborating further on the following slides. To the left, you have 4th Street. At the top is Cabrillo Park Drive, and the site is intersected by a proposed extension of Park Court Place as required by the Metro East Mixed-Use Overlay Zone. Vehicular access to the parcel will be provided from right-in and right-out driveways along 4th Street and Cabrillo Park Drive, and parcel 2 will be accessed through a driveway along the proposed Park Court Place extension. Pedestrian circulation to the project site will be provided via existing sidewalks along 4th Street and Cabrillo Park Drive and proposed sidewalks along Park Court Place. In addition, 23 on-site parking spaces or on-street parking spaces will be provided along Park Court Place based on the traffic analysis prepared for the project and as required by the Metro East Mixed-Use Overlay Zone Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Plan. A dedicated right turn lane on 4th Street onto Cabrillo Park Drive will be constructed. In addition, as part of the Central Point project and this project, traffic signals will be installed at the intersection of Cabrillo Park and Park Court Place. In addition, the project as a whole will provide a total of 1.1 acres of publicly accessible open space via the Town Center Plaza at the corner of 4th Street and Cabrillo Park, and passeos along 4th Street, Cabrillo Park Drive, and Park Court Place. All right, moving on to parcel 1, which is the proposed apartment complex. Parcel 1 consists of a 5-story wrap building with 14,900 square feet of live work space through the proposed 19 live work units, 5,800 square feet of leasable commercial space, 6,100 square feet of leasable office space, the 449 residential apartment units, 898 parking spaces, and 68,167 square feet of open space. The commercial space and leasing office will be provided on the ground floor along 4th Street and Cabrillo Park Drive. The commercial areas have been designed to accommodate a range of uses such as cafes, small retail, and neighborhood serving uses. The 19 live work units or shopkeeper units will also be provided on the ground floor along 4th Street and Cabrillo Park Drive. And additional flex spaces are provided along Park Court Place to further activate that area. On-site parking for parcel 1 is provided via a 6-level parking structure with a total of 898 parking spaces at a rate of 2.0 parking spaces per unit. Of the proposed 898 parking spaces, 90 parking spaces will be allocated for the guests and the patrons of the commercial area, with the remaining 808 parking spaces allocated for residents only. As proposed, the project retail and resident guest parking spaces will be located on the ground floor and subterranean level of the parking structure, which will remain ungated during business hours operations. The unit mix of parcel 1 consists of 23 studios at about 600 square feet in size, 662 one-bedroom units ranging from 600 to 900 square feet, and 145 two-bedroom units ranging from 1,000 square feet to 1,100 square feet. The live work units range from about 700 square feet to about 1,100 square feet in size. Parcel 1 will provide 24,148 square feet of private open space in the form of private decks. With the exception of the proposed studio units, all other units will have a private outdoor deck ranging in size between 53 to 61 square feet. In addition, 44,019 square feet of common open space will be provided through 4 courtyards, all offering different experiences. These courtyard spaces will be highly amenitized, will create unique outdoor areas within the development, and will function as both passive and active outdoor spaces. Parcel 1 also provides additional amenities, including 250 cubic feet of personal storage, a 2,400 square foot fitness room, a 1,600 square foot lounge room, a 1,600 square foot club room, and a 7,500 square foot terrace located on the rooftop of the building. Moving on to Parcel 2. Parcel 2 consists of 8 three-story townhome buildings containing a total of 58 residential for-sale units, 127 parking spaces, and 18,928 square feet of open space and amenities. On-site parking for Parcel 2 is provided via 116 covered parking spaces through tucked under 2-car garages per unit. In addition, 11 surface parking spaces will be provided for guest parking. The townhome development will be parked at a ratio of 2.2 parking spaces per unit. The unit mix for the townhomes consists of 12 two-bedroom units measuring approximately 1,500 square feet, 34 three-bedroom units ranging from 1,700 square feet to 1,800 square feet, and 12 four-bedroom units measuring approximately 1,900 square feet. Parcel 2 will provide 9,424 square feet of private open space in the form of private decks. Each townhome unit will also have a second-story private deck ranging in size between 109 to 208 square feet. The development will also provide approximately 9,515 square feet of common open space in the form of a pool, spa courtyard, and a pool building of about 580 square feet in size. All right, so this is an enlarged site plan of the proposed corner plaza, which will include outdoor dining, seating, public art, and other amenities, and will create synergy with the development to the west, as they're also proposing a courtyard plaza at that corner of Cabrillo and 4th Street. This is the enlarged site plan of the proposed rooftop terrace. Like the other courtyards being proposed for Parcel 1 and Parcel 2, all the common open space are heavily amenitized. They have different seating arrangements. One of the courtyards does include a pool. So it's very heavily amenitized and very similar to other developments that we've seen in Santa Ana recently, as well as other neighboring cities in Orange County. All right, so moving on to the renderings for the project. This is a rendering of 4th Street and Cabrillo Park Drive. Parcel 1 includes, as mentioned, a wrap building that has been designed to feature a contemporary architectural style comparable to current mixed-use developments within the community. The overall design and massive features and materials of the building are compatible with, but slightly unique from the existing development in the neighborhood, including the anticipated Central Point mixed-use development to the west. The contemporary architectural style will include a muted and earth tone color palette with high contrast accent colors, a light sand stucco exterior finish, fiber cement panel siding, metal railings, aluminum storefronts, brick veneer, metal canopies, a high quality exterior lighting, exterior doors, and fenestration. This is a rendering of 4th Street going westbound on 4th Street of the apartment development. This is a rendering view of Cabrillo Park Drive and Park Court Place. So this is the northwest corner of Parcel 1. The following is a rendering of the townhome development Similar to parcel one, it's also very contemporary in terms of its architecture style. And this is the rendering of the primary entrance to that community. Moving on to the following rendering, which is a rendering of Park Place and Carrera Park Drive. So this is the southwest corner of the townhome development. In terms of project analysis, the project is designed as an integrated development with two parcels that provide diverse housing options for people looking to buy or rent. The project will contribute to the production of affordable housing in Santa Ana through in lieu fee housing funds at approximately $8 million. The commercial areas have been designed to accommodate a range of uses common with mixed-use structures such as cafes, small retail, and neighborhood service uses. The Town Center Plaza has been designed to provide a passive recreation area to be enjoyed by residents, commercial patrons, and visitors of the development. The project, again, features durable and high-quality architectural materials and provides a range of amenities and open space. And again, as mentioned, the overall project will include about 1.1 acres in publicly accessible open space. As indicated, based on the Metro East Mixed-Use Overlay Zone, the project does require approval of site plan review by this body. With that being said, in order to be able to grant that, the commission needs to make the following findings, and the project does comply with the following findings. The development is consistent with the objectives and development standards of MIMU. The project will contribute toward a growing mixed-use community in the MIMU area and will introduce a new roadway that can be extended east to complete a street grid as the area transitions. The development has been designed to be compatible with adjacent development, for example, in scale, height, site configuration, and design principles in accordance with MIMU. And the land uses, site design, and operations of the development have been planned in a manner that will not result in any negative impacts and will also be compatible and harmonious to the MIMU area as a whole. In addition, in accordance to Chapter 34 of the Santa Ana Municipal Code, tentative tract maps do also require approval by this body. The applicant is requesting approval of this tentative tract map to be able to subdivide the project site into two parcels. And in addition, parcel 2 will be further subdivided for condo purposes to be able to sell those individual townhomes. So as again, based on Chapter 34, there are certain findings that this body needs to make. With that being said, the subdivision will enable the 58 townhome units to be sold, creating new home ownership opportunities. The development is consistent with the general plan land use destination and conforms to the applicable requirements of the city and the subdivision codes. The development is physically suitable for the type and density of the development and will not cause substantial environmental damage or substantially or avoidably injuries to fish or wildlife of their habitat. The development will not cause serious health problems. The development will further not conflict with easements necessary for public access through or use of the property within the proposed project. In terms of fiscal and economic impact analysis, the city did require that the applicant prepare a fiscal and economic impact analysis for the project. Based on that analysis and based on a constructed budget of $249 million, the project is projected to generate a recurring revenue of approximately $22.8 million. The total city expenditures over the 25 years after build out are expected to be $14.5 million, resulting in a net revenue of $8.3 million. During construction, the project will generate approximately 1,900 jobs. After completion, the project will maintain approximately 32 jobs. The city will also receive approximately $15.5 million in revenue from permit fees, including the affordable housing opportunity creation in lieu fees, park impact fees, and other development impact fees. In regards to the California Environmental Quality Act and the CEQA guidelines, the project is within the scope of the 2007 and the subsequent EIR that was prepared in 2018. The 27 EIR and 2018 subsequent EIR analyzed impacts related to aesthetics, agricultural, air quality, biology, cultural resources, geology, soils, greenhouse gas emissions, hazardous and hazardous materials, hydrology and water quality, land use planning, mineral resources, noise, population, housing, public services, transportation and traffic, tribal cultural resources and utilities. The EIR and the subsequent EIR concluded that there will be significant and unavoidable impacts associated with air quality, noise, and transportation and traffic, and mitigation measures were developed and recorded through a mitigation monitoring and reporting program that was adopted by City Council. In addition, City Council did also adopt findings of overriding considerations for those unavoidable items that I addressed. Again, that was air quality, noise, and the transportation and traffic. The EIR for the project anticipated potential development of 5,551 residential units, 963,000 square feet of commercial development, and 690,000 of office development. As required by the MMRP that was prepared for the EIR, a traffic analysis was prepared for this project. The analysis evaluated the existing operating conditions at 25 intersections, estimated the trip generation potential of the project, and forecasted future near-term and long-term operating conditions with the proposed project. Based on the analysis, offsite improvements are required at various intersections at different timeframes, as identified in the traffic analysis prepared for the project, as well as those physical improvements as indicated earlier. Based on that analysis, there is no new information of substantial importance, and there is no new environmental impact or mitigation measures needed for this project. All applicable mitigation measures apply to the previously 2007 and 2018 EIRs will be applied for this project. I do want to acknowledge that the city did receive 2 letters from 2 different law firms regarding CEQA, one on behalf of Supporters Alliance for Environmental Responsibility, which indicates that a project EIR should be prepared for this project, but does not provide a reason as to why. The second letter on behalf of Southwest Mountain States Regional Council of Carpenters requests that the project use local workforce, which is not a CEQA matter. They also request that the project impose training requirements for the project's construction activities to prevent spread of COVID and other infection diseases. Again, this issue is not a CEQA matter. And lastly, they're requesting that subsequent EIR be prepared for the project. As mentioned, and in accordance with section 15162 of the CEQA guidelines, there is no new information of substantial importance, and there are no new environmental impacts or mitigation measures needed, and therefore no additional environmental review is required for this project. With that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving site plan review number 2023-01 as conditioned, and adopt a resolution approving tentative track map number 2023-03 as conditioned. That concludes staff presentation. I'm available for any questions. The applicant and its representatives are also available for any questions. I do want to acknowledge a couple of public comments that we did receive. Those have been distributed to the commission. In addition to that, I did receive a couple of phone calls addressing concerns regarding the potential traffic of the project, and a couple of pretty much not in agreement with the project as a whole. So that I'm free to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jerry. The public hearing is now open, and given the extent of Jerry's presentation, I'll just go down the line to make sure every commissioner has a turn to ask a question. We'll start with staff first, and then we'll invite the applicant up afterwards. Commissioner Escamilla, do you have any comments?
Sure, and quite a bit. So I'll start with 5 and then kind of move forward as we circle around. So I guess just to start off on the units themselves, the commercial units. There's, I guess, a general question in my mind. Because I know that we want to encourage retail and kind of activated street spaces as much as we can. My major concern is that some of these locations will essentially kind of sit empty. So I'm not sure kind of what options are available to us to allow for flexibility of uses within those commercial spaces. So whether that, would be a provision to allow, let's say, a working artist to set up a studio where they can then live, that's probably going to be a much higher, or at least will be less likely to be unoccupied for a prolonged period of time. Because I think what we saw in some of the units like 1901 further up or further on First Street, where the people that were trying to get into these retail spaces just had nowhere to park. So there was just less active demand because it wasn't a fully built out neighborhood quite yet. So that's, I guess, the first thing, you know, if there are options to allow flexibility of occupation within those ground floor units, I think that would be very important to the project overall. So that's observation number one. I think that kind of goes into the lack of what I don't see necessarily any kind of loading areas for these units as well. So depending on the size of the kind of commercial activities that are going on in the individual units, do they just go in through a regular front door? And, you know, is that door, you know, quite honestly, even going to be big enough to allow for commercial equipment to be placed in there? So that's, I think, something that's been of an issue at previous locations. And then I'm sure this is probably somewhere in the parking plan, but my assumption is that individuals visiting these retail locations will be able to park within the parking structure. I just wanted a little bit of clarification on that from staff or from either staff or the applicant. And I think that's at least the first round of comments from me.
Jerry, would you like to respond?
Yeah, Commissioner Escamilla, thank you for your questions and comments. To answer your first question regarding the flexibility, I do want to keep in mind and readdress this to the commission that as required by MIMU, the development does need to have a commercial component of it, but you do definitely under your purview have the ability to further add a condition of approval to address those vacancies. As part of the project, as mentioned, a fiscal and economic analysis was prepared for the project, and the study did conclude that the project itself should be able to capture the demand of those commercial spaces. So there shouldn't be any concern with regards to that, but I'll defer to the applicant should they have any additional input on that. Regarding your second comment regarding move-in, I didn't really highlight that. It kind of was elaborated on your staff report, but the apartments do provide two move-in kind of loading areas for residents. One which is along Parkour Place, and then the second loading area will be accessible off of 4th Street, which is kind of like a secondary driveway, which will be only used for emergency purposes and for move-in purposes only. And then the individual townhomes clearly will have access for like their primary front door entrances. Regarding your last comment, the apartment development does incorporate a couple of parking spaces, which is a total of 90 parking spaces that will be devoted strictly for the commercial component of the project. And that's indicated that area will be remained open until the closure of those businesses. I'm assuming, and again, the applicant can elaborate on this, but those additional parking spaces will be further utilized for guest parking when those are not being servicing the commercial patrons for that area.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. And I think it was just a clarification on the question on the loading zones. It was very specifically loading zones for the commercial units. Just because sometimes like roll-up doors are necessary to kind of move in equipment. I don't think I saw that kind of on any of the elevations or to the rear of any of the commercial units. Just a general concern when it comes to larger industrial or larger commercial materials that need to be moved into the unit itself.
Yes, so those move-in areas kind of do function as those dual services that you indicated. In addition to that, the ground level of parking area also has some additional loading areas to accommodate those needs of those commercial uses.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Leo.
Yeah, since this is round one, parking requirements in the MIMU compared to what the applicant is providing, I think it's actually over what's required.
The Metro East mixed-use overlay requires 2.0 parking spaces.
So
They're slightly over. They're at
they're slightly
2.02, correct?
Okay, and then could you walk through the traffic mitigation that's going to go on Cabrillo? I know there's one light proposed, turnouts, that kind of stuff, because I'm sure the residents above that are concerned about traffic, but we're activating the whole area. So there's going to be traffic, but just talk about the traffic mitigations that are being proposed, because obviously it's two developers going through that.
Correct, Commissioner Leo. Thank you for your questions. Yes, so as indicated, the project applicant did prepare a parking analysis, and as indicated, 25 different intersections were analyzed. So in addition to the two mitigation measures that I kind of highlighted on, one of them being a right turn dedication going westbound on 4th Street and making that right turn to Cabrillo Park Drive. That's going to be a dedicated right turn. In addition, this project, as well as the project to the west, are required to install traffic signals at the Cabrillo Park Drive and Park Court Place intersection. In addition to that, there are other mitigation measures that are applicable that the applicant will have to contribute to those improvements. Some being improvements to the entrance to the 55 freeway off of 4th Street. And there's other additional mitigation measures at other intersections that, again, the applicant will have to contribute to those improvements.
Thank you.
Commissioner Olza?
Yeah, my first question is, what's the current rate for the in lieu fees in Santa Ana?
It's $15 per unit, and the applicant does have the option of reducing that fee, assuming they meet other thresholds.
And I was wondering if staff could provide occupancy rates for apartment buildings throughout the city of Santa Ana, just to see how this is affecting density in the areas that these constructions are going up.
Are you talking about the occupancy of the number of individuals?
Occupancy rate of buildings in general, just because there's a lot of new construction, and I just want to see what the occupancy rate is and if all these new constructions are needed.
Oh, I see. I can't understand your question. So in terms of occupancy, the number of people that these proposed developments are housing, they kind of range. This is kind of more of a mid-range development. In the past couple of years, this body as well as the council has approved developments that range anywhere from like 500 to 1,000 units. And for a 1-bedroom, you're looking at about 1 to 2 occupants. For a 2-bedroom, you're looking anywhere between like 4 to 6 occupants. And for 3 bedrooms, again, you're looking at about like 6 to like 8 occupants. I mean, ideally, that's not ideal, right? Because then you have over concentration issues. More or less, that's what you're looking at in terms of the number of individuals per unit.
I bring that up only because there's going to be that additional construction across the street. So making sure that the area doesn't get overly dense. But those are my questions for round one. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Wu?
The city, in 2007, Mayor Polito, I think, signed a resolution to affect climate change. And according to our most report, the city facilities have done a good job in terms of reducing our footprint. I was wondering, in regards to this development, have we examined what gas house emissions will be reduced, the carbon footprint in terms of the facility, and this is operating as a mixed use for both the residential and commercial? And then I know you said you've done 5 traffic study on the streets. Traffic start on the I-5 backing up as soon as you pass the 91, getting into Santa Ana, past the 22, and it doesn't lighten up until after you pass Tustin or the 55 freeway. And with the development of that entertainment facility on Main Place, I'm kind of concerned about the backup of traffic, the gas house emissions and all that. One problem we have is if we only take our planning on a site-by-site visit, but not look at the overall effect, which I think we need to do from a climate action plan. And if we're not asking our development to be part of the solution in terms of going more green. So like, for instance, are there measures to turn off lights, you know, have certain hours in the housing? Is there is it electrical? Is there going to be any installation of solar stuff? Is there going to be a charging station for cars to encourage the use of electric vehicles? Are there measures in terms of the common spaces for the retail that's going to adopt green measures? So those would be my kind of questions I'll be looking at, in addition to water conservation and recycling and those kinds of things.
Thank you, Commissioner Wu. So as mentioned, the original CEQA, or the Environmental Impact Report that was prepared for MIMU, did analyze greenhouse gas emissions. And as part of the mitigation monitoring reporting program, there are certain measures that the project needs to comply with. It's like a laundry list of items, which was also included as part of exhibit.
But did we study it from like the everything from the materials used for the building to construction methods
So just to elaborate, as indicated, the mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the project as a whole was included as Exhibit 3, which does identify several greenhouse gas emissions that the project needs to comply with. In addition, you kind of talked about like the different intersections and maybe some impacts to the 5 freeway. As indicated, the traffic analysis did analyze 25 intersections, and there are some mitigation measures regarding the 5 freeway, and I'm sure the applicant and their traffic team could further elaborate on that. But
I'm not talking about compliance with CEQA. I'm talking about as a building, as a reduction.
Right. So
by having our development, take responsibility, because it's a city responsibility to overall lower our gas house emission and to be more energy efficient. So that behooves us not to contribute going the other way with approving developments that might impact it negatively.
Understood. I was just trying to give you like a bigger issue, right? So like we have bigger concept issues and overall project impacts that the applicant needs to address. But in addition to those mitigation measures that the applicant or the project needs to comply with, they have to go through the building plan check process, and the building code already identifies several energy efficient measures that the project would need to comply with. One of them being the requirement of installing electric charging stations. Don't know the exact rate. In addition to that, the project also needs to accommodate solar panels. So there are green measures as well as other sustainability measures that the project would need to comply with during the plan check process.
So from the building standard standpoint, staff is on top. So my question would be, the second part is, as the applicant, are they going to go a little further, right?
Understood.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wu. Vice Chair.
I guess a couple questions that I didn't get to cover. One was the parking at this point in time. It's assigned parking, or is it just open parking for the tenants?
So for the apartment development, as mentioned, 898 parking spaces are provided, of which 90 parking spaces will be allocated for the commercial patrons as well as guest parking. And 108 parking spaces will be devoted strictly for residential uses for the apartment. For the townhome development, they're providing a total of 116 cover spaces. Through 2-car garage will be, again, strictly for the use of those occupants of those townhomes. And 11 surface parking spaces will be available for guest parking, which would not be, that would be designated, but not designated to a particular townhome.
And there was also, I think Alan mentioned the question of the charging stations, and I believe there's a different ratio for the townhomes versus the apartments, and elaborate on that.
Chairman McLaughlin, yes. So there, and I'm sure the applicant could further address this. I wish we had someone from our building division, but there's a certain requirement through the California Building Code. Might be the energy code, but I'm not too familiar with that. There's a certain percentage of parking spaces that need to be devoted for electric charging stations. And the applicant, I'm sure, and their team could further elaborate on that precise ratio.
Okay, I'll wait for that to happen.
Thank you. I'll contribute a few comments, and then we'll return if there's any comments that the other commissioners would like to supplement. I think the comment about the retail space from Commissioner Escamilla, I think it's something that's worth looking into, just because I'm curious the nature of the existing office use and retail that's existing on site, whether or not these are small tenants kind of renting out offices for mom and pop businesses, or are these kind of large suites that are taking up the office, because for the general look of the retail area, they seem to be very quite small. And so I think from elevation and from kind of the general concept, a mixed use is interesting and is vibrant, but whether or not, you know, the spaces are usable beyond maybe a clothing shop or a hobby shop, things like that, because we have to kind of look further about the ability for these spaces to be used.
Chairman Pham, thank you for your question. So just to clarify, the commercial space, you're looking at about 5,800 square feet, and then the office space is 6,100 square feet. These tenant spaces are kind of spec suite spaces. So the applicant, the developer, will have the ability to shift walls and accommodate floor areas as needed per tenant. So again, the units can range in size and they will be adaptable depending on the tenant.
And I think the other item that I think most commissioners are kind of hinting at is kind of the traffic and the parking impact on the area. I know that there's a larger development right across the street on Cabrillo. When we have these environmental impact studies, are they done in silos where the studies, do they reflect the upcoming developments, or are they just dark spots within the map, and then the project is being studied in a silo?
Chairman Pham, thank you for that question. Again, the applicant could probably further elaborate on terms of the actual methodology of the analysis, but as indicated, 25 intersections were analyzed. But in addition to that, the analysis did take into account pipeline projects. So those include projects that are built as well as future projects in our pipeline. I don't remember the exact number of projects that were analyzed, so I'll defer that to the applicant.
Thank you. Now I'll return back to probably one more round before we have the applicant come up. Commissioner Escamilla.
Thank you, Chair. All right, so I guess the at least from the site plan overview, and I'm not sure, do we have anyone here from Public Works by any chance?
Commissioner Escamilla, like any other major development, we did ask Public Works for their participation. Unfortunately, no one from their staff could attend today.
Okay, I guess I had a question on that, the necessity of the right-hand turn lane. So my understanding, again, from the vision of the MIMU, it's a good phrase to say, the MIMU, was to create a pedestrian-friendly mixed-use environment with walkable streets and really kind of a mix of activities, right? So if that's the overall goal for MIMU, we're with this right-hand turn lane, basically creating a space that's a little bit more unfriendly to pedestrians. So there is going to be kind of a change to the geometry of the road. It's going to be a wider sidewalk. There's going to be less protections for pedestrians. And we know, statistically speaking, that right-hand turn lanes are a major point of conflict where traffic accidents with pedestrians tend to happen on average more than road and curves that are less wide, you know, so that's my general concern. And I know that we're doing it for traffic mitigation purposes, but from a design perspective of creating a walkable community, that seems to be going in the opposite direction. So I'm wondering kind of how we arrived to that particular decision. I think that's a big enough discussion right now before going into anything else.
Understood, Commissioner Escamilla. So as part of the process for this traffic analysis, the applicant did consult with our Public Works engineering team, and they drafted the scope of work in collaboration with the city of Tustin as well. And the study still used level of service as a measure, which triggered the need for installing that dedicated right turn lane.
I thought we moved away from level of service, or is that not? I thought we went to VMT analysis rather than level of service.
Commissioner Escamilla, my understanding is our public works agencies using both VMT and a level of service analysis.
Commissioner Escamilla, just from the perspective and just to complement what Jerry's shared with you, and as someone who's lived, breathed, and eaten MIMU projects for 12 years now, I can tell you, firstly, these mitigation measures were adopted as part of the first EIR in 2007 and then readopted as part of the subsequent EIR in 2018. So a lot of them were pre-identified, and as projects are individually submitted, it's their turn to start basically implementing them. Now, with that said, sometimes during the plan check process, and I don't mean to speak on behalf of my public works colleagues, but sometimes during the plan check process, as the specifics become apparent, as street improvement plans are submitted and construction plans are submitted, there's an opportunity to sometimes revisit certain street improvement mechanisms. For example, for the project at Central Point across the street, there became apparent an opportunity to actually consider implementing a road diet and introducing on-street parking in the segment there. That was previously not known and was a step in a pedestrian-oriented direction. A similar opportunity may exist here as we get into that plan check phase to see, whether that right turn pocket is absolutely necessary or alternative configurations may help achieve the goals of the MIMU's pedestrian activity. On the other hand, and not to belabor or continue the point, but it should be noted as a holistic perspective that while there may be the unfortunate pedestrian consequences of a right turn pocket, the addition of the traffic signal at Park Court Place and Cabrillo Park is a step forward towards enhancing the pedestrian experience for this project and the neighboring project at the same time, just from a macro level perspective.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And I do feel that, that corner and intersection further north or more in the middle of the project is probably more important for future pedestrian activity. So I didn't see anything with traffic island or pedestrian islands or anything like that included. I would like to see something similar to that again, just whatever pedestrian friendly roadway interfaces we can incorporate. It's totally great. I won't go on too much longer, but what we also saw, now that we're talking about this corner, what we saw with the 1901 project is we initially kind of came in with an open kind of corner space that then ended up being fenced in because of issues in the area. If we're going to fence it in eventually, I'd rather just kind of incorporate that into the design early on rather than just get a wrought iron, just a wrought iron fence out there just overnight without really any kind of a approval or a review from our body. So I'd much rather, if that is the direction that ends up happening, either we say that there is no fence and it's permanently publicly accessible, and we say that here and now, or we incorporate that kind of fence design as part of the approval somewhere. I'm just, again, worried about that just because I constantly see these spaces created and then taken away because of illicit and activity there. So I don't know how we would address that though.
Commissioner, thank you again. And for that one, again, just some historical perspectives on that project versus what is before the commission this evening. That project, the portion that was fenced off was mostly a quieter residential portion that went up along Cabrillo Park Drive. And that project has most of its commercial spaces oriented right at the corner and then along First Street. Whereas this project has its some of its retail and commercial spaces kind of spanning up Cabrillo Park Drive. So fencing would have much more detrimental impacts here than it did at the Lion Street project, but it is within the commission's scope, if the wish to do so, to condition the project that if fencing is proposed in any of the publicly accessible open space areas, that it remain open to the public during something like daylight hours, common sense, easily implementable and enforceable standards, which is common practice in many other jurisdictions as well. So that when the sun goes down, essentially for security and safety of the residences, those portions could be secured. That is an option before the commission if your colleagues agree.
And then just to add that, Commissioner Escamilla, we did add condition number 7 as a recommendation that speaks regarding that topic.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. All right. Okay, just one more. The folks and our colleagues on the Art Commission will probably not like if we ignore them completely. So my understanding is that there is a an inclusionary art provision here, so that's a 0.05% of the overall budget. I don't know right now if there's already kind of a process identified for how that art is to be selected, but even if the applicant could in good faith just present options to the commission, I'm like not sure that we want to make it extremely like rigorous on them and having them go through multiple public hearings, but it would like some kind of input from the Arts Commission if that's okay with the applicant for the art that gets installed on site.
Yes, Commissioners. I mean, as you indicated, the one of the conditions of approval is to require a public art program and at an evaluation equal to 0.5% of the total construction costs of the development. And as part of the city's process and protocols, we do refer these public art plans to our community development agency.
Okay.
For review and approval as well.
All right, and I fear that this might be my last statement, so I want to make sure to talk a little bit on the labor requirements here. So my understanding is that we don't have necessarily anything in place from our authority to be able to require any project labor standards or anything specific, but that we could make a recommendation as a body to meet and confer with. Nope. Okay, not really sure kind of what we can do on that end.
This is a land use matter. And the planning commission is restricted to address issues that have direct nexus with land use issues.
Commissioner Leo.
Yeah, my comments are similar to the comments that I made for the related Bristol project, which is more and more people are working from home. More and more people need big broadband access at their homes and these developments. And as I mentioned to the applicant when I met with them, that we need to encourage to get to 5G, to get to the use where people can use their homes or we have live work projects here, right? So we have to figure out a way to drag whoever it is, Spectrum or whoever it is, into these projects because the city chose a direction to go with more intensity and more density. And people are going to demand these things or they're not going to move in. So we need to ensure, and I mentioned it to the applicant, I'll mention it to any applicant. That infrastructure needs to be essential to these bigger developments because people nowadays have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 devices they plug in. Everything's attached to Wi-Fi and they demand it. It's not like, oh, I'd like to have it. They need it. And so I think that we can have those discussions and planning can have that discussion up front. Look, these are things that we're going to require because everybody needs access to Wi-Fi and all the other things. So I just put that out there. It's one of my pet peeves and one of my things as people move forward. I even mentioned to them that, and I would mention it here, is that as we go down this path, because we're going to have more developments like this, picky little things like, you have a plug, you can have a plug in a UBS port. People would prefer sometimes just to have the USB port instead of the plug. So those little things that make amenities nice for residents, because residents have certain levels that they live at, and specifically with the rents and the mortgage payments these people are going to be making, they're going to request it. So I'll get off my soapbox, but that's the last of my comments.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Oliva.
No additional questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Wu.
Did the applicant submit a community benefit agreement to you?
Commissioner Wu, they're not required to provide an agreement, but they did provide an analysis as part of their, I'm misspeaking on that. They provided a community benefit analysis in terms of the commercial square footage, but yeah, they're not required to provide a community benefit plan.
And I know they're paying into the Affordable Housing Fund.
Correct.
As well. But if we have a lot of money in that fund, but we don't have no land because the land are being taken up by other kinds of development, then we just have a lot of money in the fund and we're not building affordable housing. So I'm just wondering what benefit are we going to gain to the residential and communities.
As part of the review of the project, staff did work with the applicant and their team on a number of what would be considered community type benefits in terms of anything that would be in addition to what's there now. So hence we completed the economic fiscal analysis to evaluate what the cost of services to the site and what are the benefit coming back. As Jerry mentioned, the project is estimated to have a net revenue to the city in terms of benefit that then become a revenue fund that the city can use to provide for public services and public community benefits.
So that's general to all areas of the city, right?
Correct.
Can we direct that to the more lower income community?
The general fund and the council is the body that would decide on how to use that general fund. So that is really provided for the commission as knowledge, but not necessarily any type of asking for recommendation or input on that.
Just an aside, if we could begin looking at how we could, there are certain areas where the market rate and residents will take care of keeping those neighborhoods up, you know, because they're incented to do that. But there are other areas where people lack the resources that could use some assistance. So I'm hoping that somewhere there's a balance in terms of staff recommendation to direct more resources to the need part. And I think Yuri would have
So
said that.
to your point, the project will be paying park development fee that will be used specifically for this quadrant of the city.
So will any of the commercial space be allowable to more of the we have a lot of artists that need workspace and kind of ethnic businesses?
As part of the project, as Jerry mentioned, there are 19 live work units that could be used for loft space or artist workspace.
In addition to those live work units, the applicant is also proposing a couple of flex spaces off of Parker Place that can certainly accommodate those type of users.
Any additional comments, Commissioner Wu? Vice Chair.
Just a couple of things. You know, Chris is talking about a lot of things above ground. The one thing that concerns me is with the project that's adjacent to this project. I believe there's like 1,200 units in that project, and now we're adding another 600 units. You know, where are the services? I mean, there's a firehouse very close to this whole project, but it's like maybe one engine or two engines. It's a very small firehouse. How are the services for that? And, you know, for the water, electricity and sewage, how is that going to mount up? And it's obvious based on the proposal that there's intent to build more housing on that acreage that exists between Tustin Avenue and Fourth and the highway. So the concern is that where are the resources going to be coming from?
The project has to pay for its own impact to public utility system. It would have to work with the existing utilities companies to provide connections to for on-site utilities. What I want to share is that the project prior to coming to the Plan Commission has been be required to submit their development proposal to the various utility company for a will serve letter. In addition to that, a public works department review for off-site improvements requirements such as underground sewer drainage system. It's also been submitted to a fire department to ensure that there's adequate fire provisions on site to address fire life safety issues, but also to make sure that there are provision for services to the area. So all of these issues have been addressed by these very departments and has been made a part of the project review and approval process before it is put forth to the commission for review. So I hope that help answer the question as to have these provisions been analyzed and will be addressed as part of the development project. The answer is yes, it is a part of our process prior to taking it to the planning commission.
And I would not, believe that you wouldn't come forth with the information for the planning commission to review at any time. It would happen. But what we don't seem to get is what happened, when in fact, this development project was put in front of the different areas. Does that mean that we're adding 50, 5 people to the fire department? Do we, we're going to be doing more work in underground and there's more expense associated with that? Who burdens that? Who gets that expense? Is it the city or is it the developer?
Ultimately, the project as part of the overall CEQA analysis done for the area, from a macro perspective, evaluate the impact of approximately 1.7 million square feet of office and retail being added to this area, approximately 5,500 units of housing being added to these areas. There are mitigations that the city council has adopted back in 2007 and 2018 to address this issue as part of the mitigations. And all those mitigations are going to be applicable to this project. Now, there are impacts that, as Jerry mentioned and identified, that the city council has found that they have significant impact, but there are no mitigation for that that's feasible that could be applied to reduce the impact to less than significant. So they did adopt a statement of overriding consideration for those aspects of the project as a whole. So as part of this MIMO area, this project will be required to comply with all of those mitigations that address the various issues that you raised.
Okay. I guess that's it for now.
You raise a question, with all that digging around for sewer for a project of this site and the other development, and it's right near the freeway that already have been dug out. I'm pretty sure you looked at the seismic and there was no concern.
Seismic is generally addressed in the building code for the construction of the project. They will be required to comply with current building code, which is 2022 building code for meeting seismic standard.
That's a strength of the structure, right?
Correct.
Right. I'm talking about shifting soil.
So the soil condition in the city is something that the applicant will have to complete with a soil study to evaluate the necessary mitigation in order to stabilize the building with the foundations. As I understand it, we are in an area where has a soil conditions that would require a significant amount of geotechnical study in order to be able to start constructing in the city, especially for multi-story buildings.
And normally I wouldn't worry about water, gathering because we live in the desert, but the recent rains made me kind of more concerned about it, which is why I was wondering about the water gathering and all that. And in the future, we're going to medicate it with your storm drain, the storm drain on top of the sewer for just because you got human beings living there. You're going to flush the toilet, they got to go somewhere, When you mix that with the residential, where's it all going to go? Going to go to Flower Park?
Commissioner Wu,
Yeah, there you go.
as part of the development project review process for this project, the applicant did prepare a sewer analysis as well as a water analysis. And they also prepare a water quality management plan. So those are all technical studies that are required by law that the project will have to comply with.
So probably in that plan too, we'll hear maybe a fire management plan for the apartments too.
OCFA does require a fire master plan as part of the technical review of this project.
Let me just say,
Go ahead.
going back to what you just said, I mean, these studies were done and everything else, but as we've said ourselves along here, the dais, we sit there and said that more people are working from their homes. And therefore, if you have that, you have more population in their homes for a longer period of time. And so when you say we're measuring that, are we measuring that against a standard that was set 10 years ago, or is it measured against a standard that's right now been changed to take into consideration that particular shift in occupancy?
So every project is required to be viewed under the current standard of the fire department. The fire department will evaluate the project for life safety provisions that are incorporated into the construction of the project, but also require that they have adequate access so that if there are issues that require for the fire department to come on site, they'll have access to adequate fire hookup. They would have access to fire lanes so that it allows the fire trucks to be able to maneuver on site, get to the various homes easily. And they also require to have fire path and signage for the fire department. And any lock gates will require that universal access provided, such as a Knox box. So these are the things that the fire department evaluate when they do look at a project like this.
And that's fine. I would agree with that. But one of the things that came out in the discussion that I had with the developer was that the standard that they were working against was pre-pandemic, not post-pandemic.
I'm not sure what you're referring to, but the fire department, based on their requirements, are putting on the requirements of the project as it stands today in terms of how they view fire suppression, fire defense, and fire life safety issues.
So
They just recently adopted.
So
a
they're
20
measuring it today, but is the measure post-pandemic or pre-pandemic?
The current standard, the analysis was done post-pandemic.
Okay.
Thank you. As an observation, I don't think it relates to this project, but it does relate to the land use of the project. It would be, I know there's a park adjacent to the townhouses. And there are park impact fees that are required of this project. I think it would make sense that some of that revenue is generated to that specific park, given the increase in families and usage. I think that would be a favorable thing to do. I'm not sure if it's within the purview of the commission, but something that I would suggest. And can I have the overall site plan again? And for my clarification, the right turn pocket that we were referring to, is it there? Okay. So what I'm looking at, my concern is, are we signalizing Cabrillo Drive, the intersection between Cabrillo Drive and the adjacent parcel? Very signalized.
There's already a signal at the intersection of 4th Street and Cabrillo Park Drive. What's being proposed is a signalized intersection at Cabrillo Park Drive and Park Place, which is this area here, Chairman.
Okay, yeah. If it wasn't signalized, I would have encouraged it to be signalized, given that I've observed a few newer developments that for some reason it wasn't signalized into the entrance of the development. And old habits die hard. We have people just making turns whenever they feel like it, and I've seen a few accidents.
Without signal.
Yeah, without signal. So I prefer us to play it safe and signalize the intersection. All right. I think at this point, I'd like to ask the applicant to come up and present.
Good evening, Chairman, FAM, members of the commission. I'm Ed McCoy. I'm with Fairfield Residential, and I appreciate being here tonight. I'd like to first start off by thanking staff, Min, Ali, and Jerry. Jerry stepped in late and did a great job getting us to this point, so appreciate all your efforts. I also want to thank the community. We had a couple sunshine ordinance meetings. They were well attended. Everybody was cordial and enjoyed speaking with the residents. And I think We were able to take what they said into account. I know obviously there's some issues with traffic that they're still concerned about, but we'll try to address those as best we can. First of all, Fairfield, if you don't know who we are, we're a national multifamily development company, privately held, with a majority owned by CalSTRS, the California State Teachers Retirement System. We are been in existence since 1985, and we specialize in multifamily and mixed use housing. We don't build single family. We don't build industrial. So we know what we know what we are, and we do it well. We're fully integrated. We have everything from site acquisition to pre-development. We have our own construction company. We build it and we manage it. So we're there from soup to nuts. If there's an issue, we're the guys you're going to be talking to. So, and I appreciate the fact that, you know, having you folks came out, I do appreciate that you took the time to meet with us and learn a little bit about our product as well. The city had a vision back in 2007 for the MEMU. The MEMU is a document that the city spent an extraordinary amount of resources and time on. They have revised it in 2018, did a supplemental environmental impact report. And that's important because that's a new environmental analysis that was recently done in 2018. And I say that because the MEMU is the framework from what we're starting with. The MEMU is the blueprint. So when questions come up about infrastructure or services or air quality, that's all been part of this whole MEMU process. This is what was done. So this is like the city created this board and they have a square here and a circle here and triangle here, and we built the triangle to fit into that spot. That's what it is. We're implementing the city's vision with this project. And frankly, this particular site is identified for 90 dwelling units per acre and 10 stories. We're half that. So the impacts that were analyzed in the environmental document for the MEMU, we're below that. So our impacts are actually going to be less that were analyzed as part of our site and based on the zoning. And I wanted to make that clear because we didn't build this, we didn't design this in a vacuum. There's plenty of foundation that was built before we got involved. We're putting the little top on it and saying, this is what the city designed, this is what the city wanted, and we're happy that we're able to deliver it. We believe our project is beautiful. We believe our product is very good. We take a lot of pride in what we do. And I think it shows in our product that we've built very similar to this in the city of Orange, city of Irvine, where we have both for sale townhomes and rental. And what that does is it gives a wider range of housing opportunities. It's not all just, here's your apartment. And in the apartments, we have shopkeeper units, we have flex units, we have 1 and 2 bedroom, we have studio. And in the townhomes, we have 2, 3, and 4 bedrooms. We also have opportunities for different retail sizes. As Jerry indicated, we can move walls within the retail space to make them bigger or larger. So this particular site offers a lot of opportunity for residents as well as retailers. The architecture, contemporary in style, public. We're also providing a public open space. We're providing a future public street that's in the MEMU, so it will connect from Cabrillo Park Drive to the east. And overall, you know, I think we hit all the marks. I think we check all the boxes on this project. We're very excited to be in Santa Ana. And what I'd like to do now is just, I thought I only had 5 minutes, so I kind of 5 minutes, but I'm going to take the extra 10 minutes and try to answer some of the questions I heard from the commission. Yes, the parking structure is open for retail parking. That's where the retailers will park. That's why we put the retail is on the corner of 4th and Cabrillo, because that's where the visibility is and the parking structure is behind it. So when someone drives up, they can see retail, they see the entrance to the garage, they pull in, and then there'll be signage within the garage to where they want to park. For deliveries, there's a hallway behind the retail space. And that hallway provides backdoor service to the retail spaces. And that's how they get their product in and out. One thing that wasn't discussed in terms of parking, there's 22 additional street parking spaces on Park Court Place. That is not shown in any of our parking counts because we can't count it because it's not on the property, but those are available as well. The WHO is $15 per square foot. I think Jerry misspoke and said per unit, but it's $15 per square foot. It's over $8 million for this project. So it's pretty substantial. And, you know, we understand the need for affordable housing, and I think that's, we're going to pay it, and we're going to pay it happily. We have a housing crisis. I know we've all heard it, but it's real. You know, California needs more housing. Southern California needs more housing. Santa Ana needs more housing. The issue will, if it will be occupied, there's a market for it. There's definitely a market for it. We have a project not far from here, the one that you folks took a look at, mid-90s occupancy, and that's 650 units. Right across the street from another one, right around the corner from another one. So there is a market for this type of housing. Greenhouse gas was analyzed in the subsequent EIR. And I will also say that when you look at the existing uses, you have office. The square footage was wrong. There's over 170,000 square feet of office space there. There's over 1,000 parking spaces on that property right now. Everybody who uses that site goes to it and from it every day, multiple times if you're working there. In our community, you don't have to leave every day. You can stay in, you can go in the fitness center, you can go to the live work, you can go to the, you know, the dog spa, clean your dog. We don't need, people who live in our communities don't necessarily need cars. They don't need to leave. But everybody on that site now does. They have to go. So I just want to say, when you're comparing greenhouse gas and traffic, remember that there's a different pattern of it. And our product in particular doesn't need a lot of vehicles. There were some comments about, you know, I'll just say this. The city of Santa Ana can't sit by and watch other cities get this type of development. They need it in their city too. So to say we don't want to have impacts, you're going to have the impacts from the other cities. So you might want to look at getting quality projects that provide benefits to the city and comply with all your codes. We're not asking for anything special. This is a compliant per code project. So you might as well get what you can at this quality rather than let it happen around you and then get all the impacts. The common spaces have light sensors. The lights go on and off based on usage. Just one of the things. The townhomes will have solar by code. They have to. We have 90 electrical vehicle charging stations within the parking structure. Infill development is sustainable by its very nature. Recycling land use is the most green approach you can take to development. This is not a raw land greenfield. This is internal to the city, previously used. We're redeveloping the property. Again, you can't get more green than that by changing out land uses in areas that already have infrastructure available. Our property management company implements what we call Living Green. Living Green is a program where we encourage residents to recycle. We have recycling on the property, obviously. We use only environmentally sensitive cleaning products for all of our cleaning of all of our amenity spaces. We have in our units, we have USB ports in all the units. All the common areas have Wi-Fi, all the amenities have Wi-Fi. And then we also install I can't remember the term, but it's fiber. So we have the ability to handle what we're talking about. Community benefits, again, we're implementing the city's vision. We're giving the city what you wanted when this plan was adopted. We're energizing this particular part of town. We're going to be creating residents that will also be customers for your retail base, will also be employees for your office and job producers. So these are the people that could live, work, and play in Santa Ana. Putting in the new road, new sidewalks, traffic signal, public open space with the Paseo and the plaza, and then the economic benefits that were discussed by staff. The one issue, Commissioner, Vice Chair, when I said the pre-pandemic, that was for the traffic study. The traffic study, we had to use numbers from the pre-pandemic because it was more realistic in terms of traffic. During the pandemic, obviously people weren't driving. So we couldn't use those numbers. So we had to use the pre-pandemic numbers for the traffic, and our traffic consultants here tonight if we need to get into that further. Those were the questions I wrote. Obviously, if there's anything further, I can answer them. I also have my whole team here. I got the civil engineer, the architect, the traffic engineer. And then I don't know the process here, but if there's an ability to respond to any public comments after, I would like that as well. So that's all I have. I'd ask you to accept staff's recommendation and respectfully ask you to approve the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Escamilla, please go ahead.
Sure, just one thing, so presuming, because I can't presume that the vote will go anyway at this point, but presuming that you go through and there is going to be a demolition of the structure, just wanted to make you aware that there is a local preservation society, and they do accept kind of just older debris and materials from these types of demolitions. We've seen some really nice reuse of like a site that was demoed called Settle Back In. Your site's not quite as old, but there are like little details that I think are actually kind of interesting on site. Just let them, if at all possible, reach out to Santa Ana Historic Preservation Society, and then they'll reuse some artifacts from your demolition. Just wanted to put that on your radar as the applicant.
Thank you. That's cool.
No questions. Commissioner Wu.
You said the townhomes will have solar.
Correct.
Is it a passive system or is it actively managed by computers that will adjust it?
So the townhomes will have solar on the roof, which is required by the building code. I don't have the technical knowledge to know what type that is. I mean, the solar on my house, I don't do anything. It just does it all. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Will they have waterless heaters too to go with the solar?
You mean the small tanks?
Yeah.
That's to be determined by the builder. Like I said, we don't build the single family stuff. So what we've done on our other developments that have this program is we typically sell that to a local home builder. And then that would be up to them to put in the type of hot water that they would want to use.
Would it be possible to pass on some of the cost saving in terms of solar energy to the low income housing that you can apartments there?
I don't know if that would be possible.
Okay. I recently visited a 500 unit apartment complex, mixed use, and they had on-site management for collecting rents and things. But the elevator was up, and the place where I was parked, normally you walk in the door, you get in the elevator, and you go straight up to the rooftop pool. It didn't work. So I had to go through a maze, I nearly died along the way, crawling through Georgia and Kentucky to get to an elevator way on the other side of the building, so I could go up there to my daughter's birthday party. So I was just wondering, usually when we approve a project later on, as I've been attending the tenant association meetings and some of that with my councilman, in some of them, they're very responsive and they hold meetings and it's bilingual and they are able to mitigate it. And whenever the on-site management is not living up to expectation, there's a change made. So I was wondering, you're not going to be managing this afterward, right?
No, we will be.
You will be?
Yes.
So is that going to be the kind of management style you're going to have?
Well, I know that our management company is exceptional. We have on-site management 24/7. So we will have on-site people all the time. For that particular situation with the elevator, in our elevator, for instance, someone walking out the street won't be able to go into the elevator and go to the 8th floor. It just won't work because you need a fob. It's very high security in that respect. So when we have technical issues, we have experts who deal with that. So
No, I couldn't get in. She had to walk me in.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
as a tenant,
Right.
the elevator didn't work for her.
That's unfortunate, but
Yeah.
things do break. I don't know how old that particular community is, but our experience is that when it's broken, you fix it. I couldn't tell you the delay time what that would be, but I can't imagine it would be broken down for more than a day at the most.
Thank you.
Vice Chair, do you have any comments? Commissioner Oliva?
I would just like to say thank you for framing the way that this project was going to be constructed as within the MIMU framework. So that was a really great way of putting it. But I will also say that I completely agree there is a housing crisis, but I don't think building more housing that's not affordable or accessible to the people that already exist within a community solves the crisis. So I get what you're saying. Agree to disagree just a little bit, but only comment.
Yeah, Commissioner. I know that we highlight the large open space towards the corner of development. Since you're the owner operator of the property, I would encourage a program, on site that programs that space actively, rather than leave it more of a passive open space, an active programming of that space so that you would encourage not only your residents but the external community to use that open space as well. I think it'll boost your retail foot traffic, just because a lot of the renderings you show it's very lively street activities. So my encouragement would be, an active programming of the space, the open space that you do provide to the general public would encourage that overall foot traffic even more. I think that's what we all envision when we envision a mixed use and transit oriented development because of all that storefront. It would be a shame to have all that storefront, but kind of you only see a reflection when you're driving by, and there's no one on the street really activating that streetscape. So that's my encouragement, and that's something that I would like to see if possible.
Thank you. Yeah, we're very pleased with how much ground floor activation we have, and I agree with you. It would definitely help to have that corner activated as well.
So is there playground equipment or study areas or community rooms and of that nature, or study halls?
Yeah, Commissioner, we have conference rooms, we have co-work space, we have passive courtyards with Wi-Fi and USB ports. We have active courtyards. We have a paseo as well along the eastern boundary. So there's many opportunities on site for residents to either decompress or have a good time.
Is it kid friendly?
Kid friendly? I would say so. Yeah, but you understand that the apartments are studio 1s and 2 bedrooms. So we typically don't get a lot of children. If we do get children, they're going to be under the age of 5. So one thing we don't have is a lot of impact on the schools because we don't have a lot of school age kids. The townhomes, on the other hand, I would say that there's going to be families there, and I know they do have recreational amenity within the central part of that property as well.
Any other comments from the commissioners? Go ahead.
I think that's my understanding as well. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your
All right, thank you,
presentation.
commissioners.
Seeing that there's no other comments, go ahead.
Yeah, just
Thank you,
one quick one. So no need to come back. Just at least when it comes to the landscape details, just hoping that we can include as much nectar and pollinating plants as possible. So whatever native varieties you can include. I think it's included under our water efficient landscape ordinance, but I know that sometimes like the local varieties really help out with just local butterflies and local hummingbirds. So making a pitch for them. Thank you. That's it.
May I make a comment? Thank you for bringing that up. In our communities, we put in like little planter areas where the residents, we can grow, small spices and herbs, as well as fruit trees in the paseos. So we do try to capitalize on that as much as possible.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, have we received any written communication, or is there members of the public that would like to comment on this item?
We have received public comments prior to the 4 p.m. deadline. These comments have been distributed via email to the commissioners. In addition, we have received 2 requests to speak forms, and I've left them with you. If you're attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial 9 and then 6 to unmute yourself. I will wait for a few seconds. We don't have any additional Zoom speakers.
Thank you. And so the public comments, we'll have 2 speakers. Mr. John Tafoya, please come up.
My name is John Tafoya. I'm a union carpenter. I live in the area. I work, recreate in this whole facility here. I had a pre-scripted comment here, but hearing the developer, I've just got some notes that I made myself. I hear about affordable housing, and this might not apply directly here, but I just want to make sure it's on the record. We always hear about affordable housing. There's going to be affordable housing. What exactly is it? Is there something where we can have a presentation, an actual number of what affordable housing is? Let's keep it to where we can actually see those numbers now, not just later. Developer also stated that this project would create opportunities for the residents and business owners. How about the opportunities for the construction workers? How about the opportunities in good paying jobs with health and welfare and a pension? That type of opportunities for the workers themselves. Contractors, are we talking about local res contractors? Are they bringing out of state contractors that bring their bad habits, their cash pay, their tax fraud? We had a big campaign last week on that. Be conscious about those things, please. Greenhouse gases was also mentioned. Hiring, requiring local hire. That has been proven to reduce local emissions on this. The South Coast Air Quality Management District recently found that local hire requirements like this can result in air pollution reductions. Recently, the state of California reiterated its commitment towards encouraging workforce development and housing affordability through the Affordable Housing and High Roads Job Act of 2022, otherwise known as Assembly Bill 2011, which requires projects pay workers a prevailing wage and hire from state certified apprenticeship programs for projects meeting certain sitting affordability and development standards. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And our second speaker is Mr. Steve Kearney. You're present.
Yeah, hello, my name is Steve Carnes and I live at 1010 Cabrillo Park Drive. So I'm kind of here looking at basically from 17th to 4th Street, kind of Cabrillo Park Drive, the big picture. You know, we got 2 huge complexes, but to look at 17th and Cabrillo, you know, you got the restaurant, you got Superior, you got Albertsons, you got all the eateries. There is going to be increased traffic on Cabrillo Park Drive from these 2 units driving to those stores. I mean, I've heard that, you know, it's stay home people. They got to get out. So I'm really concerned about that primarily. Another thing is that also Park Court, I don't know why when they design the street will only allow for cars to go into the townhomes and not the apartment complexes. So the problem is that now, from what I understand it, anybody is going southbound on Cabrillo, they're going to have to make a U-turn at 4th Street to enter the parking structure, all the apartment people, the 450. That turn lane is going to be totally impacted, right? It's a single left-hand turn lane. And you're going to have, you know, Amazon, you're going to have people turning left, you're going to have residents, you're going to have repair trucks. So I don't know if there's any accommodation, you know, I don't think there's going to be 2 left turn lanes. And then also one other, from 4th Street turning left onto Cabrillo Park Drive is going to be totally impacted. It already is impacted. There's just a little pocket turn. Now you've got 2,000 more, whatever it is, residents. So I've heard about the traffic studies, but I'll move on. I'm not convinced that those were done to accommodate all these cars. Also on Fruit Street and Cabrillo Park Drive, there's right now And I don't know how familiar you are, but that would be what, north of, the complex on Cabrillo. There's 4 stop signs. And it's an extremely dangerous intersection. There's a lot of traffic. There's going to be even more. There's been a fatality there. 2 people were killed. There's been untold. What I'd like to see is LED lights on those stop signs. We got to get to handle the increased traffic, the distracted drivers. The other thing is Wellington Drive, which is even further north than Fruit. I proposed, or I asked about maybe putting a crosswalk there. There's no way that people can cross, the street on Cabrillo Park Drive. You either do it on Fruit or you go all the way to 17th. At that time, they did a study. It didn't warrant, there wasn't enough cars, but maybe now, it might be something we can look at. So those are kind of my statements. I know that's kind of it. I'm really concerned about the street. And from what I've heard very little. I've heard 24 intersections. It sounds like there's nothing specific that's been done recently to accommodate these.
Your time's up.
units.
Thank you for your comments. I guess, I say we'll bring it back to the commission first, and then I'll entertain a motion. Do any of the commissioners?
I guess the question for staff would be just going to the residents' point on particular traffic improvements. And I know we'd kind of discussed it earlier with the viability of the right-hand turn lane and all that. I don't know if as part of this approval, we can really kind of emphasize the need to review and study all options available for those particular choke points. Because I definitely am feeling very supportive of the product that we have in front of us, but that is a major concern for me as far as what those upgrades to those 2 to 3 closest intersections are going to be. So I don't know how we might want to word that. So I'm definitely open to ideas from the rest of the commission here.
Commissioner Leo?
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion and I'm gonna add something to it, Manny, and see if it meets your needs. I think. So I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution approving the site plan review. Number 2023-01 is condition, and adopt the resolution for the tentative track map. Number 2023-03 is condition. I would also recommend that we continue to monitor the traffic on Cabrillo from 17th to 4th Street. I know exactly what Mr. Carnes is talking about on Wellington. I don't know if they'll convert the apartments to condos. I can't remember how far up it is. I would also have a sit down with Superior Market and figure out if they're going to have delivery service or not, because that would tend to lessen cars going up and down the road. And we're just going to have to deal with traffic as we go forward on how we mitigate it, how we do it. That's a great suggestion for LED lights. I saw when I was in Mexico City, I saw that they lowered the lights, the overlights down on the post. So the street is lit so you can drive, you can see better. So I think there's lots of things we can do as we kind of follow the MIMU and kind of go down this development path. I think there's lots of things we can do, but I appreciate your comments. I think there are things we can do. You know how we have lit up things on the street, on the sidewalk, in the street for the crosswalks, they light up. There's plenty of things we could do to kind of calm traffic a little bit, make it a little safer. So if I could add that to the motion, that we put something in there, maybe we look at traffic trips over time, maybe we have whatever the language is, but that should be included so we can monitor that traffic on 4th and 17th. Because this is not going to be the last time we're going to have to deal with this.
I second the motion.
Before
Go ahead, Bill.
before we call for a vote, I just want to make sure that anyone who'd like to speak on the matter have their chances to speak. Sure. Okay. Commissioner Oliver? Okay. That was a lot to add to that motion. So I would.
Well, it's how about monitor traffic over a period of time as the uses increase, because the properties are not going to be completely built out for a while. So however you want to word it.
If I may suggest a wording of this condition so it's workable from a practical standpoint, is for the applicant to work with the city's staff, particularly the Public Works Department, to develop a traffic calming strategy to work with the city so that when deemed appropriate, those strategies can be implemented as part of the project construction.
That would be good if we can figure out a way to get the other one in there too. The one on the other corner. Because they're both gonna go up, right? I don't know if how they're staged. I know we can only talk to this applicant,
Correct.
but the other applicants as well about traffic calming. However you want to do it, do it.
You can place the condition on this project to work with the Public Works Department on traffic calming strategies. It will likely be something that's apply on the street and will benefit both project, but we can only stick to the condition of this project.
Since we have the project team present, I want to give you the opportunity to state that you're in agreement or amicable with this condition.
Thank you, Chairman Pham. Just so I understand it, so the issue is Cabrillo Park Drive between 4th and 17th, and it's to monitor over time.
Over time.
What we have seen in other situations, from other commissions in other cities, is that they would ask that once the project is completed, that we would do traffic counts and analysis, provide it to the city. City takes a look at it and says, it works, or hey, can you guys put these lights on the stop sign? Can you put speed humps? But we got to, in our position would be, we need to keep it manageable and something that we can at least understand as we finish the project, so that we don't have excuse the term, but we don't have an open checkbook on it,
Understood.
essentially. So if we could structure something like that, we would definitely be in agreement.
I think that's what the residents want. I think that's what we want. We want to make sure you have a successful project, but yet the residents are heard, and also that the traffic is mitigated to a certain extent. I agree with you about cars, less people, but let's do it one step at a time. Min, does that make sense? Okay.
Thank you.
Generally, when I experience this condition, there is a certain level of occupancy that would trigger the study so that we have activities to the site that's reliable.
Yes.
Generally, that is at about, unless you have a specific occupancy rate that you think you'll be at, but generally it's about 7 to 8% occupancy. As full would generally be around 90. So.
Okay. Does that work?
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. So
That's my motion.
currently, we have a motion by Commissioner Leo as condition that Director Min just summarized, and a second by Commissioner Wu. Is that correct? All right. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Commissioner Leo,
Aye.
Commissioner Escamilla,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramos, Commissioner Oliva,
Aye.
Commissioner Wu,
Aye.
Vice Chair McLaughlin,
Aye.
Chair Pham.
Aye.
Motion approved by majority vote with Commissioner Ramos absent.
Moving on to closing comments. Is there any closing comments from staff?
No closing comments. Thank you.
Thank you. And is a closing comments from the commission?
Yeah, so watching the city council meeting last week, and there was a question that kind of came up around just like income to the city. I remember that maybe a few years back, there was a kind of a push to do or potentially contract with Urban 3 to do a value per acre analysis of the city to basically look what parcels and what uses generate income for the city. So I just thought that it's a good like baseline level to have. So I just wanted to throw it out there as like something that I personally would be interested in. I don't know what the interest is from the rest of the commission, but it would basically be looking to see what areas of the city have been producing revenue for the city, so we have a better understanding of the types of development we would like to kind of look at and support here. So that's my general thought for the day.
And just a quick response. I know we're interested in that kind of information too. We actually did ask Urban 3 to do a project specific analysis for us. For some reason, they don't get down to the level of information that we need. So it's something that we're gonna have to do on our own at some other point. But yes, that is great information to have.
Commissioner Leo.
Yeah, I had a question for city attorney. The recent lawsuit and conclusion by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals on the Berkeley ordinance concerning gas stoves or non-gas stoves. We could gather just some general information. There's a lot of misinformation about there about getting rid of gas stoves and what's happened. Irvine passed an ordinance. I guarantee you they'll get sued. The issue around gas stoves, as I understand the decision, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it was the federal courts ruled that that is the purview of the federal government, not state or local government. Am I correct or not? I don't know if I'm correct or not, but if you could find anything on that and send that to us, I think that'd be educational.
Of course, Commissioner Leo, I'm aware of the decision. It was very recent. We can certainly gather some information and provide it to city staff so that
Yeah,
they
it'd
can
be great
provide it
because
to
as
you.
we have the greenhouse gas discussions, Irvine ordinance that was passed has a freight train hole in it around traditional cooking, which basically is every restaurant possible.
Yeah,
So in reality, it's nice that they passed it, but not really. And then development like to have the option like this one, we've had gas or electric. So I think that just kind of us understanding it, because if it were to come, it's going to come to us. So just so we have some background information. Thank
of
you.
course. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Commissioner Oliver?
Just thank you to staff for putting this meeting together and for facilitating. Thank you.
Commissioner Wu?
Yeah, I want to thank staff for always dotting the I and crossing the T. And when I ask the question, it's not because I don't think you're doing your job. I think you are. But I do have a concern, man, that I hope that we could do some special study session to look at advanced kind of planning. Being a built up city and we're kind of over impacted by a lot of these things, including traffic and all that. I was wondering if I was attending a California Strategic Growth Council meeting, talking about all the federal funding that's coming down to look at communities that are disadvantaged and economically depressed and channeling, because they're not part of the green revolution. They're not accessing the jobs, not accessing the houses to have it. And there seemed to be a disparity. And this city has adopted a general plan that seemed to be have a place for everyone. But if we're not doing anything to lift up the lowest section of our community, then what kind of city are we? By the same token, while we are building these houses, we're not attracting the kind of jobs that can provide housing as well for our residents. So I know there's a lot to do with future planning and not existing things, and a lot of the things that you have brought to kind of mitigate through the zoning, everyday kind of stuff, you're able to take care of it. But this might help us to set a standard for future development and have the developer contribute more. Saying, well, I want to work in the city. I want to serve that community. Here's what I'm willing to do. And if they do that, where did they go? Is there a place that can happen? Is there, a process for helping them to create a special district to help a whole entire community? I don't know. I just have these kinds of questions, and I know that it doesn't come up on everyday agenda unless we set time aside and agenda so the public can comment.
If the commissioner would like, here's what I suggest is that, please send a list of questions. As I know these projects come across your purview, you have a lot of questions. And it appears that some of the questions are generally of every project very consistently. So why don't we, you send to staff a list of questions that you would like to have answered that we don't have to anecdotally discuss with every single project, but that way we will take those questions, bring them back to you, say, did we hear this right? Anything else that you want to study? And then we can work on a potential study session to kind of help educate, but also maybe bring some information, this is applicable here, but this isn't applicable here, so that we don't have to have the same discussion every time. And that would be helpful. give us a list of all your questions that you have about development, about sustainability, about topics, gas, equipment, electrifications. We'll do our best. But at least we can start getting a common understanding from the staff level, from the planning commission level, on some of the base understanding of how we can approach future review and future developments, hopefully to help us all get the community and the commission make better decisions. We have better projects.
Yeah, during the pandemic, it was not much of an issue because I did very little networking because I didn't want to go anywhere. But as I start to get out, I'm starting to meet investors. I'm starting to meet all that. And I'm trying not to get involved in such a way that it will be construed as a conflict of interest where I'm starting a project. Although when I see that someone wants to do a movie studio and I hear a councilman saying, "Oh, I know some rappers," you kind of have to stop. Although I want to refer them somewhere so they could have a discussion to develop it. And we don't really have a community development agency, a community-based community development agency to kind of do these kinds of things that I'm looking at. So
We
is that something
but we do have an economic development commission.
yeah, they do, but again, they review a lot of the plan, make sure. I'm talking about proactively going out there and bringing people. And
I do apologize. This is, and I
I'm sorry.
don't
Yeah.
mean to be disrespectful, but this forum is not meant to be back and forth. I recognize the importance of the issue. Why don't we do this? Why don't we have you send us your list of questions, let's say by the 1st of June? So that way it gives you some time to gather all this information together. We'll come back, we'll compile it and we'll come back to you, confirm what we heard. And then that will help us to develop a plan of moving forward on how to bring back a workshop that will benefit and be able to respond to your questions.
Pleasure.
Yeah, just a number of things. First of all, I mean, one of the things I'd like to see us do is if we're starting to track things like Wi-Fi, or we're trying to track things like gas stoves versus electric stoves, it'd be nice to be able to see some metrics that show that there has been improvement or there has been some kind of analytic activity done to say we're going in the right direction. Because right now, I mean, I think there's still a lot of question on some of the things that are being approved, and not just from a legality perspective, but the fundamental, what's the question you're trying to answer, and we're not really doing a good job answering it. We're not answering it because
And that would be helpful because, we want to help you make your decision. So tell us what you would want to know about those, the nuances of the issues that you have brought up. So that way we can come back and give you, yes, you can do this. No, you can't do this. Here's how you can potentially get there, So.
And the other thing, Jerry, you did a great job with the presentation, not only just presenting, but you also did a very good job answering the questions that we threw at you.
We have the
So,
best. Thank you.
good job on that one. And last but not least, I'll just throw out a little advertisement. Al and I were talking about it earlier, but this coming weekend is Floral Park's historic home tour. And it runs on Saturday and Sunday from 10 in the morning to 8. If you have a chance, you have the ability to stop by. I mean, we are, as has been said before, we are now a true historic district, both from a federal standpoint and a state standpoint. So, we've got a few things we can do. We're going to do a few more things that we've done in the past with respect to this home tour. So, thank you.
Thank you. Just my general comment is, I think all the new developments that's coming into the city is very exciting. My observation is it's happening a lot at the border of our city. And I know, part of it is from the developer's perspective, and then, we can only do so much. But I think, seeing more development creep into the inner cities, to inner heart of the city, not just downtown by itself, but on the other arterial roads and the boulevards, I think that would be great. Just because, the developments, these new developments, they create a context for other developments. And so on one perspective, it's kind of hard to compare or to assess one lone development because it's existing by itself. But I think eventually, the more developments we have, good quality developments, I think it would encourage more developments deeper within the city, which will serve our residents more. And so it's just one step at a time, and I'm hoping that would be kind of the reason why we're seeing so much investment in Santa Ana. And that's it.
I want to go back to one thing that came up in the discussion with the bread and bakery business was the fact that it was built like in 1945, I think was the date that was given. And so the question I've got is, and it's as crazy as it is there anything maybe historic with that facility, Quonset hut wise? Is that something that is done during the war?
I don't believe that property is listed, correct?
No, it was the Laguna facility that was established in.
But just because it's not listed doesn't mean that it doesn't have a historical value from
Right,
the
right.
community perspective. And just from an outsider perspective, in terms of have been here only 5 years, and I know that project with Dana's Harvey, handbag have been there a lot longer than I've been here. They did choose to respect the historic aspect of the building by restoring it, reusing it, and actually even integrating more, in my opinion, into the community and make it relevant today by adding the bakery and the outdoor seating. I personally thought that was a very how would you say, a sensitive project and a sensitive use inserted into a neighborhood that allows the neighborhood to, take a walk, get a coffee, get some bakery, or even have to sit down and, being able to enjoy something right in the middle of their neighborhood. So.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, great. So the meeting is now adjourned. The next regular meeting will be held on Monday, May 8th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. in the council chamber located 2020 Civic Center Plaza. Thank you.
Mark, I heard there's a rumor that if we see any paintings of houses we like, we could take them home with.